You co-chair budget.
Martinez, co-chair budget. Josh is non-member.
Galen Murray, 130th District, non-committee member.
Nicole Nelson, 130th District, committee member.
Kayla Medina, 130 District, non-committee member.
Alfredo Castillo, 136, budget committee member.
Maria Valley, 137, non-committee member.
Denise Delmoy, 131st, non-committee member.
Mayor McBride Lee, 135th committee member.
And Director Back, 134, non-committee member.
Ken Plato, Director of Finance, OPM, dressed in blue for the occasion.
Dave Reyes, Mayor Galen's Deputy Chief of Staff.
Who do you have though?
Hakeem Boyd, non-committee
Oh,
member.
my bad. I see you. I couldn't even see you.
Francisco Rivera, Director of EOC.
Steve Mastriani, Deputy Director of EOC.
Introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. Chief Water, requirement.
Okay.
And that's what they lost me quickly.
I'm Melanie Simon, analyst in the Real-Time Crime Center.
Okay. All right.
Before we exhibit their presentation, they don't have?
Can you give it to you?
Okay.
We didn't get it, pass it
I
up.
know. Before we exhibit those documents, I'm going to ask, please be mindful, open the chairs, and as I said, when we invite public or directors from the city, we didn't invite them here to be beat up on. And if I think you're speaking out of term on saying some things that I don't think we should hear, do not speak here. So we'll keep the quorum, and I need to exhibit, we'll let Ken go ahead first.
No, exhibit first.
Okay, he's not gonna be talking about that. He's gonna be talking about outlining your budget. You always say it's
You want
first.
to do a quick minute? So just the budget starts on page 242 for the Emergency Center, Communications and Operations Center. They've got a pretty steady budget. Just a couple of notes to mention to you. They did request a part-time payroll assistant processor. So that's built into the budget request. They can explain that in the presentation. The other big line is health insurance. It's a munis-generated line, so whatever, maybe there are more people with kids this year, I'm not sure what, but the health insurance went up across the board, but it did go up a little higher in their department. And in terms of other operational costs, pretty much as steady as you go. So pretty simple in terms of the budget perspective.
Okay. I get a motion to exhibit.
We need to exhibit 0 for the city council budget review, emergency management, 04/30/2026A.
Okay, I got a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against? You hear none, see none, so we move on.
All right,
Frank.
thank you, everybody, for taking the time out today. For those that, obviously you know my name, but I am Frank Rivera. I'm the newly appointed Director of EOC. 16 years here, roughly, come August, and I'm a Bridgeport guy. So I'm doing my best to ensure that this budget does what it's supposed to do. See where we can cut things like overtime, see where we can save the city money, right? It all sounds good as far as, anybody can say it. I'm trying to do it, right? I'll go ahead and start with my the mission statement for the EOC. Mission of the Emergency Communications and Operations Center is to protect the lives and property of the citizens in the city of Bridgeport by integrating preparedness, technology, efficient communication, and rapid responses to all critical incidents within the city of Bridgeport. Our values. In carrying our mission, members of our department continue to value the importance of the citizens we serve and each other, excellence and professionalism in handling our duties, and problem solving through teamwork, our first responders, council members, and community partners. That's our organizational chart, as you all know. You all, the city council, the mayor, CAO, and then the Emergency Communications Center. Our internal organizational chart starts with me, the director, my deputy, Steve here, the public information officer, which is Ms. Shona White. We have our ECC supervisors and our telecommunicators and our payroll clerk. Our payroll clerk, from what I understand, is already on our budget, I believe. But we're budgeted for 44 telecommunicators. We're actually short 11 at the moment. Supervisors, we were budgeted for 9, we're actually short 2 with my recent appointment. And payroll is, yeah, payroll is right there. Let you go. So as I said, budget for 44, we're short 11. Supervisors, obviously, we're short 2 there. Something to think of, maybe medium term to long term, a quality assurance coordinator. Now, I've researched neighboring municipalities where they have a designated quality assurance coordinator. It does help. It lets us see where we're lacking, what things we need to improve on. However, obviously, that's something that I would have to bring to the table to you all before we put that into place, and negotiations would obviously have to be done. Our panel interviews, so we began to address our shortages, right, for our telecommunicators, because obviously contractually and minimum staffing, we have to staff, they're essential employees. So when we don't have enough, somebody has to fill it. That's where the overtime comes in, and unfortunately, it's a necessary evil to the budget, right? But we did address it. We had a campaign, about 405, the most applicants we've ever had. And I give credit to Steve and Dave because they ramped up a pretty robust campaign. We had 405 applicants. 53 of the 405 were progressing to the panel interviews, which we started last week. The positions will eventually align with the enhancement to become a full-service 911 center with medical call taking as a goal. This will increase state revenue from $48,000 to $731,000, and I believe it might actually increase. So what that entails is, right now, we're getting state aid for $48,000, but we don't EMD calls. So when we transfer calls to AMR, they EMD, we send fire as first responders, and they take care of the rest. Flip that around, if we start to EMD calls and giving pre-arrival instructions with our dispatchers, we open ourselves up to a lot more money, right? But that's a long-term goal because it's going to require more staffing. The reason it will require more staffing is if you're on a 911 call and they continue to flow in and we don't have enough staffing level that we do right now, we can't EMD calls because those telecommunicators are going to stay on the phone longer. And now the 911s are going to continue to ring, we're not going to answer, our state standards are going to dip. So we can't do it right now, but it's something that we're looking at in the future to try and consolidate, have that EMD in there, and it opens us up to a lot more funding, right? And the ECC supervisor test, I've been in touch with civil service, we're going to try and ramp that up and get that going too. Honestly, big thing is cut down the overtime, and really I don't want to burn my staff out. They work countless hours, they work hard, it's a stressful environment at times. I really want to make sure that, their personal lives aren't affected if they don't have to be. Our program highlights 26, 27 short-term goals, continuing citywide emergency training and outreach related to prevention, preparedness, response, and recovery from all hazards. Continue implementing strategies and technologies to analyze and assess ECOC operations, ensuring efficiency, effectiveness, and empathy in services provided to the community before, during, and after emergencies and disasters while maintaining compliance with all federal and state standards. Expand the dissemination of public information across a broader range of media outlets, and conduct recruitment campaigns to reduce telecommunicating vacancies. We've actually done that fairly well as of late. Okay, so our medium term, continue implementing emergency planning strategies that enhance the city's resilience and incorporate a whole community approach. That's a big term in emergency management, whole community, because like here, we have to bring everybody to the table, find solutions on how efficient we can be with what we have. Additionally, expand collaboration among all ECOC stakeholders to better support vulnerable populations during emergencies and disasters. So continue exploring grant funding opportunities to support the city's ECOC before, during, and after emergencies and disasters. These funds will be used to assess threats, risks, and vulnerabilities associated with hazards that may impact the city. This is the preparedness part. We have to explore and exhaust every resource we have in order to make sure that obviously, the constituents, the citizens of the Park City are kept safe, right? And maintain consistent public information messaging among the police department, fire department, ECOC, and the community. Obviously, we need those means of communications to get out critical details regarding incidents that occur in the city, both man-made and natural. And the long-term goals: implement a new restructuring strategy for the ECOC to support emergency medical dispatch, enhance community outreach and education, and promote interdisciplinary training. Strategy will include new positions, improved standards, and expanded programs, i.e. EMD and possibly quality assurance. And develop strategies to generate revenue for the city based on services provided by the ECOC. What I mean by that is, we have an ECOC. If we don't have an incident going on, it's not being used. So why don't we use it? Use it to host other classes. Have vendors come here, lease our building from us or the room from us, and create a revenue stream that way. So the short-term goal is 6 month status. Continue to conduct citywide emergency training and outreach as it relates to prevention, preparedness, response, and recovery of all hazards. 6 month status is the ECOC has conducted 8 preparedness campaigns, roughly 63 community training seminars, and 274 school drills. And school drills, they're logged in VOC. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with it, but they're mandated by the state. We track, log, and then we provide that information to Bob Kenya, regional coordinator, just prior to June 30th. Continue to implement strategies and technology to analyze and assess ECOC operations and ensuring efficiency, effectiveness, and empathy in services provided to the community before, during, after emergencies and disasters. ECOC continues to analyze daily operational statistics and ensure compliance with state and federal standards for 911 call processing and ECOC performance measures. ECOC has implemented 2 new response enhancement programs, the Prepared Live, which are exploring other functions with that interface that are available, and Rapid SOS, into daily operations of the Emergency Communications Center. Next year's goal is to further explore capabilities of the programs to ensure equal access to emergency communication and operational services for the public. One of the big things, I think, with Prepared Live, they have a function in Prepared Live, which I feel is so needed, and it's fair, and it's equitable, where if somebody calls and English is not their first language, what ends up happening is we can text to that person, they translate it up to 56 languages. So now, there's no gap. Before there was a small gap because we'd have to go transfer the call to a translator, and then the translator would have to get on the phone, I have to see which one I needed at the time, so it takes time. This one's instantaneous. You give me an emergency, now everybody that doesn't have English as a first language still gets the same treatment, right? The same service that we can provide. And continuing to maintain federal and state standards associated with emergency communications and operations. Our 6 month status here is the implemented strategy has resulted in a 93 to 95 compliance with the state 911 standard. Fire calls are dispatched within the federal standard on an average of 2 minutes, and police priority 1 calls are dispatched within the national standard of an average of 10 minutes. Now, it's important to note here is that we're the largest municipality in the state, and no one's numbers are better than ours. So our standard is, or the state standard is, we have to answer 911 calls in 10 seconds or less within 90% of the time. Currently, we're right between 93 and 95. If I can remember, it's right around 94.6, right? So take pride in that. And then these are our goal stats. Obviously, the EMD call taking is a long-term goal, so that's going to require a lot more time, a lot more negotiation, a lot more information. Our citywide training, we're at about 32%. Sessions pick up after the winter, so obviously now I've already got several locations where I'm going to be doing training, so that's fallen on me. I promise you I will ramp that up because it's definitely important. Technology, we've implemented the Prepared Live and Rapid SOS. Our standards, that's obviously an ongoing process with our 911 answering point. Health and wellness, I'm proud to say that we do have 2 wellness rooms. We have a gym and a wellness room that were obviously sponsored by Bridgeport Hospital. But more recently, we had actually a peer support in conjunction with the police department. We've created a peer support team in the ECC as well as police and fire. So what happens with that is once there's a critical incident, it could be something very severe, and people need folks to talk to. They might not feel comfortable talking to somebody that's outside the profession. They might feel more comfortable talking to somebody in police or ECC or vice versa. we have that for our folks, and we're doing it for each other. There's no cost to the city, it's purely voluntary, but it's something that we hold ourselves pretty proud of because it's their mental health at stake, right? Our planning to increase the utilization of our decompression and wellness rooms, that coincides with that. Our threats, risks, that's obviously an ongoing process. We're always conducting analysis and risk assessment. Our EMD call taken here, obviously we're still discussing that strategy. Accreditation, which we have to actually restructure, so that ties in with the EMD. Our grants were 100%. We're meeting our milestones with the grant funding from FEMA. So that's an ongoing process with central grants as well. Revenue strategies, we're investigating new routes. Obviously, we need to see what it entails, and speaking with obviously city attorney, things of that nature, what the liability is, hosting classes and trainings and whatnot. And then our training facility, that's another goal that we're looking towards, trying to make the EOC a bona fide training facility where we can bring a multitude of facets between, crisis management, emergency preparedness, mitigation, everything under the sun, emergency management and ECC we're trying to do. So our stats here, our 911 calls received, we'll go to 25, which is roughly 106,000 911 calls. We're at about 51,000 now. Police last year, 98,000 calls for police. I know Chief Ford is a busy guy. Right up now, we're up to 46,000. Fire calls, we're at about 21.5, and currently at 11.3. And EMS calls were 34,000 roughly, and 6 months we're at 17,000. So we're busy, obviously. Again, we're the largest municipality in the state. We're extremely busy, right? But we do a really great job of our response times and how we mitigate these emergencies when they come in. Our total call volume, you see in 22, combined 329,597. Dwindled down a bit in 23, back up in 24. 25 was 359,257, and up to date, we're on a total of 176. So we do have Prepared Live, we think would be able to help with that. So the amount of non-emergency calls as opposed to 911 calls is much different. So what Prepared is willing to do for us, they're willing to let us try it for free to start out, is a non-emergency call triage. So if a call comes in and it's a non-emergency, it will be picked up by AI. I ran this by the city attorney, please, don't go here. So I ran it by city attorney, and they were definitely okay with it. But it will triage those calls and take our dispatchers and our telephone off the phone for those and direct them automatically to the right departments. Now, our 911 stats can climb even higher because the majority of calls that we're going to service are 911 calls. And really, that's what we should be doing, is servicing the predominantly 911 calls, with the exception of obviously talking to neighboring jurisdictions and things of that nature. Moving down to our CERT team, obviously right now we have roughly about 298. We're getting in touch with a couple more, so 300 is roughly where we're at there. Our seminars, so here down here, we're estimated at 50. We're trying to ramp up our community preparedness along with our outreach. I've done 2 sessions with the youth ambassadors and the East Side Senior Center as of late, so I'm trying to ramp that up. I know I've only been in office 3 weeks, giving a little bit of time, and you'll see this will ramp up. Community preparedness, obviously the target population is roughly around 150,000. School drills, those are being conducted routinely. EOC activations, obviously, thankfully, we've had 2 where Acting Director Dave Reyes had to activate. Did a fine job doing it, not because he's sitting in front of me, but he did, along with Steve here. Our EOC call volume, it's roughly the same where we're at, 21.5. So for EOC Operation Care, homeless initiative served, we served 50 so far. I'd like to see that number climb, but if it doesn't, I'm hoping that it's because they already got what they deserve. If they don't, obviously we're going to take a more active role in protecting the social vulnerable. On our EOC grant management, right up to 25, we're managing about $1,045,994 in grant funding. So our 2025-2026 overview, as I alluded to before, the overtime budget, definitely due to unfilled positions, about approximately 11 TCOs, contractual overtime staffing, and CTO shortage, which we've tried to address fairly fast. Our overtime also accrued, obviously, to the 2 supervisory vacancies, one with my latest promotion, so I apologize, that I took the role, but I couldn't say no. And our successes, 100% school drill plan state of compliance, our successful hazards, weather and storm response. Only major municipality in the state of Connecticut, over 90% of state 911 standard. Our top staff are CT alert trained, and then increased repair live utilization and exploring new technology features with another interface rapid SOS. Successful outcome for Public Safety Telecommunicator Week, where all the staff were able to take part in the week, incorporating several food trucks, sponsored events from police and fire departments, distributed certificates of appreciation, an electronic billboard for recognition, as well as supplying apparel to the telecommunicator staff to show admiration and appreciation for a consistent and efficient job done year-round. Again, as Steve and Dave, they launched a robust hiring campaign and conducted the first ever open house sessions for the position of telecommunicator to provide insight into what the position of a telecommunicator entails and a reasonable expectation of roles and responsibilities when performing the job functions. So just to wrap things here, maintaining an average of 94 to 96% state 911 standard answering calls for 911s 90% of the time within 10 seconds. Successfully prepared for, responded, recovered, and mitigated recent critical winter storms along with severe water main break. We participate in community outreach and education focusing on threats and hazards in the workplace. We successfully maintain all FEMA grants to be kept current and up to date. Successfully organized National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week to show appreciation and boost morale for the ECC staff. Maintain the ECC wellness program along with incorporating ECC staff and peer support for critical incidents and mental health initiatives. And we're recognized as Storm Ready Community by the National Weather Service, Storm Ready Ambassador, and a Ready Community via ready.com.
Thank you, okay? Before you continue, I want to acknowledge that Michelle Lyons is here. Okay? You guys on the presentation, okay? Let me open up the questions and the committee members first. You don't have none, anybody else have any? Tasha Spells. Oh, you have any? Okay.
Is there committee member? My question to you is that, so BMA has a program on their facilities that has to do with emergency calls and everything. Are y'all like collaborating with the students for them to possibly work in some of these positions that are currently vacant? No?
So I can, if you don't mind. So there's a criteria, right? So students they can come toward the EOC, right? But they can't, they have to do the robust process, the application, the background checks, there's keyboard and test components to it. I mean, in the future they can. I mean, we work with every school district on what we're mandated by the state to conduct the drills, the active shooter drills, the fire drills, within that sort of, again, outside of working at the EOC, they wouldn't be able to come and work. They can intern, right? We get interns from colleges, but we can't be employees unless they do the robust process that everybody has to do.
Okay.
Reverend?
Yeah, it's not my two questions, but when you had a fire drill or whatever drill that you have at school, you all expect, well, we all expect a certain amount of minutes. And we try to get to a certain amount of minutes for the kids to get out of school, out of the building, right? Is that recorded down to your office?
So I can speak to, you're in Watsonville School, right?
Yeah.
I can tell you what you all did there and at Barnum, you guys did a phenomenal job, right?
Thank you.
I can tell you, it was a very hectic chaos, but it was controlled chaos because how quickly and swiftly the school personnel responded. Just know when something like that happens, Reverend Lee, they have their Bible, right, for words and what they reference and how.
The principal of that school is very smart to alert the school in Barnum that they received, this bomb threat, right? So at that time, you just know that we aren't as good as our job without working with Chief Porter and the fire department. So just know, right, I was in the acting capacity when this happened. Their job is to make sure that you and the students are safe, right? I'm working with the Board of Ed, Dr. Avery, and also the chief. And again, thank God the PD got there, controlled the traffic. Barnum School had to walk to, the Bass Pro Shop, right? So that's something that, the chief and I and others discussed. We have to revisit that. That's a long walk for the kids, right? The PD had to literally follow the kids there, follow them back, right? I'm on the phone, also with Chief Capozzi, Captain Gilleran. So just know, everything is reported because we're in constant communication. So we know when the call came in. We know when the students went back. We were prepared to send the cavalry inside the school, to be able to do the dogs and everything. Chief was on the phone. Well, I believe Stanford was the chief. So just know, when something like that happens, Beverly, it's all hands on deck. No matter where you're at, everybody is going directly to the school, and everything's clocked in and out.
Well, I think that one of the reasons many reasons that it went smooth, but when we saw the little police cars out there and the dog, it really made us feel felt safe, man. Because police cars was everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
And dogs were running through that building like I don't know what, trying to find the bomb that was in there. So thank you for saying.
Just know, kids, everybody's responding when you mention kids, right? It's good, no matter where you are in the city, all cops are responding. They can be in your district, they can be wherever, they can be at Seaside, everybody's responding to that. And we have to activate mutual aid, we will always do that. Everyone's out of our EOC, where we work with the chief and everyone, if we have to bring Fairfield, Stratford in, right? All that is a coordinated effort, but just know, it's always gonna be all hands on deck.
Okay, so now I can ask my 2 questions. You said something about there's something is set up so that if someone from Africa or Italy or anything that called out to your center, that you have something that interpret those people that's on the phone.
So right now we don't. We're using the language line, so we're still utilizing our translator. So we're talking to the company's called Prepared Live. So Prepared Live has that capability to give us that feature through their interface. So that way, when somebody does call in and they don't speak English, they don't have a delayed response in medical coverage or emergency.
Is that part of your budget that we have this year? Because I said that because we have people from everywhere now, and I think one of the most sad thing was that one of my students tried to speak to me, and I couldn't understand anything that she was saying. She was from Africa, and some people down there will be calling. That don't speak English, so I'm asking you if that's in your budget.
Yeah. Well, to start out, they said that they would let us try it for free.
Oh,
for a free trial.
Okay.
So we're going to try it first, see, kind of give it a try run, see how it works, tinker around with it, make sure that it works completely the way we want it to, and then we can probably move forward from there. But we want to make a full assessment first before we jump in and start making an expenditure.
Okay. My last question is how accurate is the 911 call? That someone called, you said there's a separation of all the ones that's good.
As far as
for
legitimate emergency?
I don't want to use the word good, but some of the ones that real emergency, and the ones that are not real emergency.
We typically, so non-emergency calls, we typically get a lot more than emergency calls. And I mean, thankfully, because if it was the other way around, we'd be in really bad shape, right? So, yeah, it's fairly accurate because those stats come from the state of Connecticut.
So you already have that set up, right? Oh, okay. Those are my 2 questions.
Okay, Anita?
Okay, Frank, I have 2 questions. Do you have a grant writer at EOC?
A grant writer?
Yes. Why not?
That's a good question.
As you know, I came in the Acton role, there's never a grant writer, right, the city as a whole, right, the template, the city work is when we have an office, right, our role is to identify grants, and as we identify a grant, we can help, right, in the back end with the writing and providing the material that's needed, but all grants does filter through East Salinas office and the grant department.
I think under your leadership, you need to add a grant writer. Looking at different sections under NLC, there's a lot of emergency operations center grants that would be suitable to a listing of what you have here. A lot of your trainings, you don't have to budget for, you can submit grants and they're covered under that. And my next question is, who is running your CERT program right now, and how often are they updating the certification? Because I have to tell you, I've been certified since probably 2010 and have not received a recertification since then. Equipment is outdated, protection is outdated, hard hat is cracked.
That role, for the sake of transparency, was in transition. We had an individual in EOC that was taking over CERT. He no longer is in our department, so more than likely I'll probably take the helm on that and revamp the certifications.
Is that budgeted in your budget
What specifically?
for the CERT training, the materials that are needed for the CERT members that are going to be trained, certification expenses, materials?
So CERT, right, it's mandated, not mandated, but right, it's operated by the state, right? So we partner with the state. We are in the process of a reset for our CERT program. Right? We have to work with the state to figure out what we need, to become more compliant, to be able to get on the right page, right? Unfortunately, when the emergencies happen, right, I have to rely a lot on the Red Cross and just community partners, but if we have a CERT team, we've been able to activate them. Thank God, right, we have the relationships in our city where folks would, chip in, the Board of Ed. But right now, until Frankie meets with the state to understand what we need to be compliant, to be able to catch up, it's hard to ask. But there are things that we can get directly from the state by working with Bob Kenny, which again, Frankie does have a relationship with. So
she's the emergency service chair.
I just want to start by saying thank you, Steve, for showing me, or showing around the ECC and explaining the staffing challenges with the vacancies. As I understand it, there's somebody that practically lives there like every day. And we have extremely long shifts. So just note that is a priority that you're aware of. But tying in with Councilwoman Martinez's comment about the grant writer, I see here that the communications equipment, you got a lot of equipment in that facility, and you've upped the budget, I guess, to about $338,000 a year. We heard from ITS that our hardware expenses are skyrocketing. Do you anticipate in future years that budget will need to increase?
I would say potentially. It all depends what the market is doing that year. It's hard to say now, just because obviously it's hard to anticipate what those prices are going to be, where we are internationally with relations, how much things are going to cost. I mean, even now with the political climate being the way it is, we're all feeling obviously the negative impacts financially. So it all depends, I think it starts from the top to bottom. So it starts, with the president on down. But I would imagine even cost of living usually there's an increase, so it probably coincides with that as well. So yeah, I would probably say yes, but I can't say for sure.
Mr. Chair, just know we have a lot of state assets there too. Right? So it's not only our assets; we have state assets that we have occupied in there.
Okay. I was wondering how you recover and
Yes. Thank you again for giving me a tour as well. Thank you. It was great to be there and learn the whole system. But with the community preparedness training sessions and the outreach campaigns, how do you envision that being, and is there something we can do to help?
I mean, I probably just to spread the word on their end. As far as the outreach and preparedness, even now, I've started to talk to a couple folks who are going to go to their facilities and do a active shooter and a PowerPoint. So, and it's not just active shooter, it's bomb threats, things that happen like in Waltersville. So these things in real time are very valuable, very useful. So again, I mean, if we put the word out, I can always put the word out with Shauna, with maybe Danielle, the mayor's team. So that way, if they want to inquire, all they have to do is email me, or I have no problem going to any school, to a city building, to wherever. It could be it's a whole community approach, so it could be a private stakeholder, it could be a church. Even the other day, I just had, I contacted contacted Blessed Sacrament, spoke to Father Skip, so that we can secure a secondary shelter for Red Cross, who he's open with, and we're going to go towards. So these are all things like, there's a lot of moving parts, and obviously there's going to be some contract between, obviously, Red Cross and that parish, but outreach is everything, because a prepared community, obviously, is going to be a safer community. Right? I'm not just saying it just because I want to make it sound nice, no, it's the truth. A prepared community absolutely is safe. So I'm all for anybody who wants to reach out to me, by all means. I can give these trainings whenever my schedule permits.
All right. Anita?
Okay, I had to go around because you only allowed 2 questions, right? So I was looking at the stats numbers, like from 22 to now 26. The numbers have decreased tremendously. So the point in addressing that is because I think that although I don't see a high increase in your budget, I think that in order for your operation to run smoothly and for you to run an effective EOC department up to date, it looks to me as if you need additional funding to your budget. And that was the reason why I had asked about the grant writing. Looking at these numbers, there's a decrease, and Ken knows where I'm going with this. I went there yesterday with the fire department. So Ken, I think that you need to find some money to bring EOC up to standards, because it looks like we're a little antique here with what I'm looking at here. And I say that because I think that we have status quo with the old staff that was there, and having a 15-year veteran, but a younger veteran, I think he can bring this department up to speed where we need to be. So I'm gonna recommend that we add some additional funding to uplift some of these, some of this stuff is truly outdated.
You, Mr. Chair, I know Ken gets beat up a lot, but I gotta say, I love Ken. We had chairs in that center that were 15 to 20 years old. Now imagine sitting on that very chair that you're in for 16 hours. And then the next person that comes in maybe does 12 hours. My first mission when I came in was to find the money to get them brand new chairs. Everyone in that call center now, again, thanks to Ken, I take the credit for harassing him, but they all have the proper chairs where they're comfortable. You want to talk about a huge morale booster? I mean, Chief Porter trying to take a chair, right? So he sat down in a chair. Just imagine, that was the biggest complaint. People said my back hurt, my leg hurt. When we gotta find money, I can tell you, he's been good to the EOC. Again, I know he's tough with the other departments, but he knew that what we needed, and they're not cheap. So I can tell you, we have brand new chairs. We're working with, he's doing, I mean, you guys saw in the capital budget, we're trying to get new radios so that we're caught up with the times as well. So from an EOC side, I can say that the administration and Ken have been extremely very helpful to us.
Good statement. That adds to my request.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Michelle?
Yes, well, thank you. I had 2.5 questions, but actually Anita covered the first one really well. She must have been sitting in my brain. And the other was, because people are there for extreme amount of hours, okay, and it takes a lot out of, it takes a lot. I mean, even as council people will tell you, if you're at a computer, if you're there for hours and doing our meetings and stuff, it takes a lot, so I know, and then you're in an intense situation. But what is the response, since all the 2 questions were answered, you have comfortable chairs now and all that seating, what is the response time, like if I make a phone call, say you have 911, okay, then you have, the the unemergency call? What is the response time that it takes to get to a police officer?
So I'll give you the standard.
Because I may have missed that.
I'll give you the standard that we use now. So for priority one calls featuring life and death, state standard, it's 10 minutes or less, right? We like to get there within a minute and a half, but we have up until 10 minutes or less. Priority two calls, you're looking at, that could be like a motor vehicle accident, no injuries, just a fender bender. And that's 30 minutes or less. And then priority three calls can be somebody, somebody's parked the wrong way on the street, not causing a hazard or anything like that. That's 60 minutes or less.
Okay, so you're saying that when we call you, that's the response time to get to the house?
That's the allotted what we have. We try to do far better than that. So if you call in, God forbid, and you have like a domestic dispute, you're gonna get an officer immediately.
Okay.
Somebody's gonna break. If I don't have an officer, my dispatcher's gonna break somebody and say, okay, you're on a priority two call. You might be the one at the motor vehicle accident, just a fender bender, so somebody clipped my mirror, and somebody else is calling with a domestic, with a knife or a weapon, whatever the case may be.
Right.
Hey, if I don't have anybody, I gotta break you from your fender bender and I gotta send you over there. Because this person might lose their life. You're okay, I'll come back, we'll fill out the paperwork, but I gotta go right now.
And that's for burglaries, your house burglaries as well?
Anything with a threat to life is a priority one.
Is considered priority one? Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, just to piggyback, give you an example. Ernie was there with me. We had a third alarm fire in August, right? And during that time, the EOC received a call, my driveway's blocked, right? The driveway being blocked is gonna have to wait while the PD and fire are responding to that third alarm fire. I mean, Ernie was with me, he got in my car, we went to the fire, but we need PD personnel to block the streets, make sure the traffic is flowing while the fire is going. A third alarm fire then requires us to tap into other resources. When Ernie and I arrived at the scene, Milford was en route to come help fight this fire. So just know, when non-emergency calls are not emergencies, so they go into a tiered, approach depending on the severity of the emergency. So once the priorities are done, then we can go back. But to Frankie's point, if there is a domestic, all hands on deck. And children, all hands on deck. But if it's a fender bender, no injuries, you're probably gonna have to wait depending on what's happening throughout the city.
Okay, thank you. I'll just make a statement. We will have a talk about other things within my district, since you're new. I'll keep this this time.
All right,
Thank
let's
you.
do this in order, and then Ernie will close. Maria Valle, then Maria Ferrer, then Ernie will close out.
Okay, I know this is also interesting, and it might be new to some, and then repeated information to others. But again, hitting on the fact about grant writers for that department. I remember in 2009, 2001, 2009, the police department, even before that, they had a grant writer. And, well, you know what they do. So I think that's important. Then, like I said, we have a new director, and I'm sure that he's gonna bring great things to this department. And if I am wrong, gently tell me I am wrong. But I think that I really wanna get into what does he need to make his department even stronger. Not better, because it is good. And yes, there's a place for growth. But more so, what's here in these pages that he might be lacking, and so forth. Again, just very quickly, I know you mentioned Blessed Sacrament is I guess going to be working with you in terms of emergency. Do know that we did have a meeting, and Councilwoman Martinez was there, Pastor Reverend Lee, Councilwoman Reverend Lee was also at that meeting, and several churches, Pentecostal churches were there, and they are working on using their parishioners via a application process to become certified, correct? So know that the Red Cross, City of Bridgeport, EOC are working together in moving this forward, so that when there is an emergency out there, that these churches have their doors open for us. Just please know that. Thank you.
You okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Maria Pereira.
I'm on page 242 of the budget book, and this is my 7th budget. And it says here, and I don't know how old this is, because it still has David Reyes at the top as the acting manager. The TCOs, it's saying that you have 44 positions, and every single position's filled. I've never seen that. Is that true?
No.
I missed that, I missed that.
So fill just means the budget, they can be filled, but they do.
No, but it says unfilled 0.
That means taken out of the budget, unfilled. So it used to be, this came up last week, there used to be a vacancy column. For whatever reason, the OPM office, before I became interim, took it out because they thought it would be hard to read another column. And I think next year we have to put that back in the book.
Can I ask how many vacancies are?
But I gave everybody,
11. That's by far the highest number I've ever seen.
and we did give a vacancy list out to the full committee.
Okay. And the second question is, I would just like to ask, I'm just a little confused. Your predecessor would have us ask to speak to a supervisor to get the lieutenant or whatever on duty. And every time I've asked for that, it has not occurred in the last several months. And I know you're brand new, right? You just got your position. But previously, you could ask to speak to the EOC supervisor, and they would have the lieutenant or the captain get back to us. That is not happening. And I'd like to know, is there just a change in protocol now or something? What's going on?
Not to my knowledge. If you give me dates and times, I can certainly look into it and figure out where the recordings are. And if they didn't, then I'll address them accordingly.
They usually tell me we don't do that. I was like, we don't do that anymore? And they're like, no. And it's usually like maybe I'm calling the third time about something and I'm just trying to get an idea of what's going on. But they, like some people tell me, no, we don't have any way of doing that now. I was like,
To have one of the supervisors, like a sergeant or lieutenant, give you a call?
well, your predecessor, I don't want to say his name, used to have us ask for the supervisor. The supervisor would come on the line, and as council people, we would be able to say, can you tell me who's the lieutenant or captain on duty, and is there any way I can be connected to him, or can you have them call me? And it used to work fine. And every time I've asked for that now, they're always like, well, we don't do that, we don't know how to do that, we don't do that, and nobody gets back to me. So I'm just wondering, is there something going on that we should all be aware of?
No, no, I assure you, I'll take care of it.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
All right, already closed out.
I'm more concerned that we got 11 positions that haven't been filled in this budget. What are you all doing to speed up that process so you can hire those people, which will cut down on the caseloads and help a lot of people? I don't understand, so help me understand the process.
So the highest vacancy that we've ever had at the EOC historically was 13, right? We're at 11. When I came on as acting, the 11 vacancies were already there. So that's one of the priorities that I have. You have to all understand here that the city of Bridgeport has a civil service process. We have to abide by that civil service process to then do what we have to do. So we abide by that process. We go, Eric, comes before the civil service board to solidify that we have the vacancy, we get this signed seal of approval from the board, then we do our campaign. This is the highest in city history. We had 405 people apply. The last time the individual I had before, only 75 people applied. So think about it. Years ago, there was a list that expired, right? So we actually hired one person about a year and a half ago off that list, but we only had 2 people left on the list. So you have to understand that list only maybe had 10 people there. That list, perhaps those 8 fall in other jobs, right? So even this is the most historically that we've even advanced to the panel interview, right? Then it becomes a ranking structure like PD has, right? So we'll have the top 20, top 25 that'll then get referred to the chiefs of internal affairs. They do our background checks. So based on that, folks may, continue on in the process or get disqualified in the process.
Let me just follow up. I understand the process. We've got to speed up the process.
We can't, respectfully. Unless you want to go with me to court to explain to the judge why we're bypassing our city ordinance and our rules. The same thing applies to the chief. The chief can't tell Eric to speed up the process when he has to abide by. But so I hear you. I would love nothing more, but unfortunately we can't, respectfully.
So it's a labor issue.
No, it's not a labor issue. It's a process. It's,
All right? All right, so thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right?
Thank you. Congratulations, man. I'm coming for the tour, okay?
All right, he's up next.
he likes to get in the truck.
Okay, hey.
Oh,
That's all right. Right time to do it, Suki. All right. No. You wait. You wait, Kenny.
why is that so?
Hey.
Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you coming. All right, thank you, everybody.
Take care. Get
See how nervous I was? I've seen you break them before.
Just what you're trying to block. You're trying to block the range to higher density zones. I do it successfully.
I know. I guess. Yeah. 257.
Ray Rizio, when I go to planning and zoning, and Ray Rizio's there, and nothing, he'll say, thank God I'm not in your district. He'll say that to me, because I beat him all the time. He lies, lies on the top of it.
We don't have enough.
There's not enough. There you go.
Oh, there's not enough. Can I get You're on the committee, you don't have one? She's on the committee.
She gave us something.
We don't have one.
We don't have enough. Only for committee members. That's all I printed out.
You go though.
Okay.
You're a committee member?
Who's the other committee member?
I's on there.
Myself and Nicole. Nicole, you got yours?
She's on the committee.
I do not. If I may, please. Thank you.
Honey.
All right, we gotta wait for the chief to come.
Here he is, right here.
Oh, he's here, all right.
He can't hide with it. We're quick enough. He can't do it.
Well, let me exhibit this again.
Okay, hold on. We're gonna exhibit the,
Good job.
exhibit. All right, we'll come back in session. We're gonna exhibit this here.
We're gonna exhibit the Bridgeport Police Department budget presentation, 4/30, 2026B.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Hear none, see none. All right. Who wanna go first?
Thank you through the chair. So
Okay,
just a
Dan.
quick overview, like we do the normal process. The budget starts on page 186. I would just mention a couple of things, 3 or 4 things to help kick it off for their presentation. The first item is that the last few years, we've been kind of woefully under budgeting outside overtime, both the revenue and expenses. As you know, they offset on both sides of the budget, but I felt that we should kind of recognize closer to reality because the work out there and the number of outside jobs have increased. There's a lot of construction in the city. It's a good thing when things are being improved, but it requires more officer outside assignments. So both on the revenue side and on the expense side, you'll see a big increase in overtime, outside overtime. In the overtime budget is built into the overall overtime. so it's harder for you to see it when you get your monthly report. But basically, I upped each side almost $1 million. So I just wanted to let you know that, so you know that it's offsetting. It's not just on one side or the other side. If you turn briefly to page 191, the chief of the department did make a big push for some personnel priorities. And as I always do with public safety, I try to do what I can to help them with their needs. There are a few positions that the mayor's budget is recommending that are obviously up to the council. We have, similarly in the fire department, allowed for a potential one additional lieutenant to be considered to the force for their various needs and divisions. We also, they requested some administrative help, and there's one additional, I guess the title is typist. There's a few offsets here, but there's one help for a staff person, and there's also one extra automotive servicer. Here it was labeled as fleet mechanic, but in the final, when you get those final changes next week, the position is actually an automotive servicer, which is a little less expensive than the mechanic position, but it fits their needs, so that adjustment will come to you when you get the final list. But those are the three that were kind of sought by the department as their top priorities. We did discuss the other day, and we are in accord that we are going to try to seek, we're going to move the IT specialists, even though they'll still be located in public safety where they are. They will be shifted to ITS for supervision and for kind of management. That's kind of been a joint effort by them, but everybody's agreeing that would work better. So on the personnel side, that's pretty much it. I know I'm going to be asked this question by one of your members. I did increase the attrition reserve by a couple of positions to help offset the cost of the new positions, because normally during the year there are a number, as you know, of vacant positions, but there is a risk in increasing the attrition reserve, because obviously it means there's less slack in the budget for unexpected things. But I did do that to help offset that cost of the new hires. And then just quickly on the non-personnel side, on the operations side, if you turn to page 193 and 194, it pretty well is there are some things that were left in there. We didn't really cut much back. I crimped a couple of lines like I did. I know last night you hounded me about fire, but I believe every department has to crimp a little bit here or there, because very frankly, we've got a tough budget. I know I've said that till I'm blue in the face, and maybe some people don't, see it, but we have a lot of budget pressures. So for the most part, 90% of their personnel increases on the non-personnel side were left the same, but there are a couple of lines where if they ask for, say, 70,000, I made it 50,000, something like that, for very small changes. And with that, if it's okay, I'll turn it over to the department for their presentation and comments.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. As usual, it's always a pleasure to come and present to you all. First, I want to thank you all for what you do for the police department, what you do for the city. We couldn't be successful without your support, and we look forward to continue to work with you guys at any time. My door is always open. If anyone wants to come in and talk to me individually after this presentation or anytime, you're more than welcome to do that, and I encourage you to do that. First, I just want to go over our kind of program. First, I want to thank my staff for putting this together. So this was put together by Assistant Chief Capozzi, Lieutenant Jacobellis, and Melody, our crime analyst. And so they're responsible for putting this great presentation together for you. I'm not responsible for the picture. I told them that they did not have to do that. So just to give you a little format, so we're going to start with personnel that I'm going to do. Fleet management, which is very important, Lieutenant Jacobellis is going to go over. Technology, Melanie is going to go over. And overtime is going to be handled by Assistant Chief Capozzi. I want to start with saying, from day one when I became the police chief, it has always been my priority, and things I've stated from the beginning, is that as the chief, it's paramount that I'm fiscally responsible and efficient as possible with the taxpayers' money. So everything I do is driven by what we spend and what we ask for. We try to be as fiscally responsible as we possibly could and can. And one of the things I said from day one is every time we deal with things, we deal with our current realities. I know Ken just said that earlier. We deal with the current realities. I don't try to deal with how it used to be, and I try to limit how much we can think about the future. Although we are going to present a futuristic plan for you today, we try to deal with our current realities. And one of the things I said from day one as chief over the last couple of years is that we have to build the department from the bottom up, not top down. We're building from the bottom up, not top down. And that's been the priority. I've expressed that to the mayor. He's agreed with me. We have to build it from the bottom up. And what we've done over the last 3.5 years that I've been the chief, we've done that, and we're starting to get to the point where our reality has improved significantly, where we could do and ask for some things that we see coming in the next 4 years. So I want to start with just saying, every year as the chief, I became the chief in December 2022, so I'll say we started in earnest in January of 2023. Every year as the chief, we've hired and promoted, and every year. We've hired officers and we've promoted people every year from 2023, 2024, 2025, and 2026. So in 2023, we hired some officers and we promoted officers to captains. In 2024, we hired officers again. We had another couple of classes in 2024. We asked for and received a sergeant's test, and we promoted sergeants. In 2025, again, we hired more police officers, and we promoted more individuals to sergeant. In 2026, we promoted more officers to sergeants. We're gonna hire more police officers. We have a class we have a list that's being put together right now of 83 individuals they're gonna go through the background process, and hopefully we'll be able to hire off that list sometime this summer. And also in 2026, we asked for the detective's test. In 2026, we administered the detective's test, civil service, and in the next week or so, that list will be certified. I anticipate hiring 10 to 12 detectives off of that list right from the beginning. As 2026 goes on, it's our plan, and we've already begun these conversations with civil service last year, is to put on a lieutenant's test and then a captain's test at some time this year. So our reality has changed to the point now where we're able to advance and do more things at higher levels. So we're building up from the bottom, and it's got us to the point where we still have to be cautious, but we are able to now promote more and continue to grow the department from top to bottom. There are a couple things we're going to ask for here that we didn't get in our conversation, in our meetings with Ken. However, we are going to present that to you today and have you consider those additional requests. Okay, so we'll get right into the personnel. Okay. Click the next one. So what we're going to present to you tonight is, obviously we're going to talk about the reality here and now for this fiscal year, but we're also going to talk about a 4-year growth plan that we want to kind of try to achieve over the next 4 years. So a couple things we're going to ask for are for this fiscal year, and then we're going to give you a projection of where we think we're going to grow in the next 4 years. So currently we're budgeted for, I believe, 356 to 359 police officers. What we'd like to do at some point is, as we see Bridgeport growing over the next several years, the community, right, we're looking out to 2035. As Bridgeport continues to grow, we need to continue to grow the department to back to where it was. So back to where the department was in excess of 400 police officers. So the goal, ultimately, over the next 4 or 5 years, is to get us back to 400 police officers. We talk about span of control and effective supervision. So ideally, in an ideal world, you want the span of control to be 1 supervisor for 3 to 7 officers. What we have now is 1 supervisor to 10 officers. However, we put some things in place already where we cut that number down as much as we can. But I will say this particular span of control is something that, even before I became the chief, the city and the union agreed to for that 1 to 10. So that currently is what we operate under. However, we try to do as best we can to not have to do that. And with this new influx of sergeants that we just promoted and that we're going to continue to promote, we're able to reduce that. And that provides for more supervision. And so for lieutenants, our lieutenants are middle managers, and they handle a lot of administrative functions in addition to being responsible for the overall operations of their divisions. And so right now we're budgeted for 13 lieutenants, and we'll get more into that. 13 lieutenants, I think Ken gave us 1 more. For this fiscal year, we'd like to add a couple more to that to get us to at least 16. Okay? Some of the things that drive our manpower and our span of control issue is absences, sick leave, We have to cover for sick leave, court, vacation, and that further reduces our available supervisors. This past year, some of you may remember or you are aware of the state law change in terms of time off, so it's much more difficult for us to restrict the amount of time that officers are allowed to take off for sick time. Okay? Just a couple other things here. Staffing gaps require overtime increases, and it also is fatigue, and it wears on the officers. So the more staff we can get, we can reduce that area. Okay? The more supervisors improves coverage and accountability and efficiencies. There's just no way around it. The more oversight I have of my officers, the better they are, the more effective they are, and it reduces any issues we have with the citizens. A couple of these I'm going to just go through pretty quickly. Adequate supervisors improve real-time incident management, especially during high-risk calls. Like I heard Councilwoman Lyons talk about response times as it relates to certain calls. And like she mentioned, burglaries. So a lieutenant or a supervisor watching that could recognize, is that a burglary in progress, or is that a burglary that occurred like the day before? And that would dictate whether or not that response is going to be a priority or not. So sometimes a burglary just doesn't automatically mean it's a priority one. It determines, like I think David Ray's mentioned, if it's happening in real time. Okay. More field supervisors means faster responses to critical incidents, better coordination, safer outcomes for both officers and the public. And that's what we talk about a lot when we see incidents that happen in other cities. And they'll say, where was that supervisor at? If the supervisor had been in that situation, could have been handled differently, and maybe that person, or it wouldn't have gone the way it went. So we're trying to get more supervisors to reduce that from occurring in Bridgeport. Supervisors play a key role in de-escalation and adherence to policies, again. And one of the things we did, all of our supervisors, before they were promoted, we sent them to supervisory school. In the past, sometimes we didn't always do that. They would get promoted and then may or may not go to supervisory school. We sent all of our sergeants, our new sergeants, to school before they were promoted. And our detectives are in school this week or next week, right? The potential detectives. Okay, next one. Okay, so this is where we are right now. So currently we're budgeted for 5 captains. We have 2 vacancies, and this is going to be pending a test. So right now, I can promote 2 more after a test. And this captain's position, we'd like to get that to 6 now. Over the next 4 years, we'd like to get that up to 9 as the department grows to that 400 number. Not where we are now, to that number. So right now, we have, I mentioned 13 lieutenants, we have 1 vacancy. We are going to be requesting a test because we do have a vacancy, but we'd like to increase that number as soon as we can. Right now, we're budgeted for 52 sergeants. We'd like to increase that number to 55. Right now, we are at the sergeant's number. We're 1 short. We're at 51, but we do have the ability to promote. There's a couple of administrative things that we have to work out, and we will be promoting another one. We'd like to promote 3 additional to get to 55. Right now, we are budgeted for 50 detectives. We have 40, and we have 10 openings. But what happened was a couple of people that made sergeant were detectives. So that number is going to go up to maybe 12. Okay. Overall department, the police officer rank, the rank of police officer, we are budgeted for 229 police officer positions. And right now we have 16 vacancies. So that number is probably lower. We're probably at 212, 213. However, what happens is there's a trickle-down effect. So some of these sergeants that got made will create that more openings here. Some of these detectives, most of these detectives that were made will create more openings for patrol officers. So there's a trickle-down effect. This is uniform services. So right now in uniform services, this is the patrol division. This is the meat and potatoes of the police department. These are guys who respond to calls for service. We have 1 captain, 6 lieutenants, and 28 sergeants that field that, and 213 patrol officers. That should go up. But not all of these patrol officers, as they go up, will be necessarily assigned to patrol. Some of those may go to the traffic division, the School Resource Officer Division, to our Tactical Narcotics team, and other places as well. Okay? But we would like to add eventually another captain to patrol so we can split it into two, be east and west. And those captains will be responsive to any requests that the community has. So, Bridgeport Police Department is requesting funding to increase critical supervising staffing positions. The purpose is to improve oversight, operational coverage, and specialized unit supervision. And it's a 4-year growth plan. And here it is here. So staffing expansion, we'd like to get to 400 total police officers. That includes myself. This is designed to align public safety with current and projected community demand. The goal is not simply more officers, but more improved response times and proactive policing and sustainable workload distribution. So it cuts down on the burnout of our officers. And in here, what we mean is so we can do more proactive policing, more community policing, where we have more officers out walking and doing different things like that. Just a couple other things. This growth modernizes of service deliveries, prevention, intervention, and enforcement in balanced proportions. Current staff levels at below demand benchmarks create strain that impacts response time, officer wellness, and investigative capacity. And I just want to highlight this here. Officer wellness. Over the last couple of years, I really want to commend our officers because they've had to work extra. And I know they get a lot of overtime, and it seems like these officers, but it's because we have these staffing issues. But even though they're making overtime, this consistent, constant work and having to do details and fill vacancies creates burnout. And sometimes we have to save people from themselves. We have to save our officers from themselves. So by increasing our numbers, we'll be able to do that. Okay? Our investigative capacity. My detective bureau is second to none. You look at our solve rates, we're second to none. So with more people, we'll get better. Okay? This proposed growth plan depends on the organization's ability to hire, retain, and promote staff. This is a priority of us. It's my priority to hire people, to keep people, and promote people. We don't want people to be stagnant. We want to create opportunities for people, but we have to start here. And as mentioned earlier with David Reyes, there's a process to hiring people. And right now in Connecticut, we are in competition with other departments. You guys did something that have made us much more competitive to be able to hire people. A couple things. You gave us a competitive starting wage, where our police officers now have a very nice starting salary, and you gave us the ability to hire lateral police officers and certified police officers. Before, we were operating with our hands behind our backs. Other departments could take laterals, but we couldn't. Everyone we hired, we had to go through the civil service process from entry level. So now we're able to compete with other departments. So believe it or not, and contrary to anything that anyone else may say, we have people who want to come to Bridgeport. I have an interview with 2 laterals next week. One from Waterbury, one from Norwalk, who want to come to Bridgeport. We've hired people from New Haven, New London, Baltimore, Waterbury. People want to come to Bridgeport. So that's allowing us to do better. And they want to come here because they see what's happening in our city. Right? Okay. This is a part of our 4-year growth plan. Some of the costs that's going to be incurred in that. Salaries and benefits, equipment, and vehicles per officer. And I know we're going to talk about vehicles, training and academy expansion, all these things so we could grow over the next 4 years. But this is really important to us. So we can increase staffing supports more consistent engagement with neighbors. Neighborhoods, visibility, and accessibility are key drivers for perceived safety. Extending the hiring process over the proposed 4-year timeline supports steady, consistent growth in the recruitment of high-quality officers while simultaneously allowing for the proportional department of supervisor ranks. And I really wanted to comment, I wish they were here, civil service. Eric Amato has been a partner in lockstep to help rebuild this department. From the entry level to promotional exams, we're in lockstep. We had a conversation. We get quarterly reports on manpower. We got the last one at the end of March. We had a conversation to talk about where we are, where we need to go, how we're going to get there, and how we're going to fill these vacancies. Just as a couple other things here. request an additional 47 budget patrol officers, and this is a 4-year plan to get us back up to that 400 officer level. One of the things we want to do is in 2023, your body, along with Nestor, who was the fiscal person at the time, we reduced the number of police officers strategically from 400 that it had been to, I believe, 359. And that was done for a variety of reasons. Number one, we just didn't have the numbers to meet that number, right? So we cut the number, your body cut the number of police officers, lieutenants, sergeants, detectives, to a number that we could get to and reasonably try to attain. And one of the main reasons they did that is at that time we had Department of Justice COPS grants, and we could not meet our obligation because you have to be at the number that you're allotted for to accept the grant money. And for years, Bridgeport relied on hiring police officers through COPS grants. So we had to give money back. We couldn't accept the grant. So if we can get back to that budgeted number, then we can put in for those COPS grants, and we'll be able to use those to hire police officers. Usually the COPS grants allow for salaries and benefits for like 3 to 5 years before the city has to take over. So that's really important if we can get back to that. Okay. Increasing our detectives to address the investigative caseload, reduce the caseloads, we'll get more quicker response in investigations, support complex and time-intensive cases like our violent crimes, our narcotics, and financial crimes. This has been a big area that we've had to focus on is financial crimes. We have a lot of scams happening. Our seniors are getting taken advantage of. So we need to really, in Bridgeport, we, for many, many years, focused on violent and narcotics. But now we're at a place where, because the crime is at a level where we can start to deal with some of the issues like that as well. And really like to strengthen our follow-up investigations from patrol to generated reports. I can't tell you how many times people come to the front desk and they're looking for a follow-up, and our detectives are backed up, and it takes time to get to them to follow up on an investigation. So this will really help us do this. Okay. So some of the things we're looking for in Detective Bureau, we want to increase the number of detectives we're budgeted at 50 to 55 to 60 we'd like to get our detectives up to. And just some of the places where they'll be spread out. So we have detectives in internal affairs, obviously in the Detective Bureau, and our tactical narcotics team, our task force, court liaison, as well as the city attorney's office. Okay. Just increasing the number of sergeants like we've done. Our sergeants are the most critical supervisors in the department because they are the first line supervisors to provide leadership and guidance to our officers, and also to help guide them in how they respond to calls and how they act and react on calls. So this is critically important. Some of this stuff is redundant, but I think it's important that you have it and you see why these needs are so great for our department. In some of the places where we have our sergeants, they're assigned a variety of different places. They're in patrol, which covers our booking area, internal affairs, our detective bureau. We have them in TNT, task forces, fusion center, a training academy, special services, administrative services, property room, records, and even our school resource office. This is our lieutenant. So one of the goals I have, and when we go to, is for our lieutenants. I want to make our lieutenants the backbone of the police department, who are the ones who are out there connecting with the community and really developing the sergeants so they can develop the younger officers. And I want our captains to be more on the executive level, dealing with more executive level issues. And I do want to point out one thing. I did share with Council President Herron a complete list of all of our phone numbers, all of our lieutenants' numbers, and all of our captains. So if you ever need to get a hold of a shift lieutenant, there should be no reason why you shouldn't get a hold of them. So I'll get that to make sure that that is not a problem. And every night you call CAD, they should be able to tell you who the on-duty shift lieutenant is. And there should be no reason why they should not be able to do that information. I do it all the time. I'll call and go, who's the shift lieutenant? Or who's the duty lieutenant? So I'll make sure that that doesn't happen. Just some of the places we have our lieutenant patrol. Right now we have 6, we'd like to get back to 9. And this is over a 4-year time period to get back to 9 where we used to be. The Detective Bureau, we have 2. They cover 2 shifts. Our narcotics team has 1, task force 1, internal affairs, traffic, training academy, SRO, special services, community service, and administrative services. So we do want to grow the department back to where we're able to have this number to cover those different areas. The captains, again, we want to expand our captains to do more executive level supervision. Just some of the areas that we want to put them again is kind of redundant. 3 in patrol, 1 in investigative services, 1 administrative services, put 1 in charge of internal affairs, the academy, special services, and community services. Okay. The operational impacts of staffing shortages, they run the gamut. Low staffing level leads to little flexibility to absorb absences. And what drives oftentimes our issues are the absences. Okay, just a couple things here that I'll point out. Increased overtime leads to higher operational costs, obviously. Also are increasingly focused on calls for service rather than crime prevention efforts, so we want to make them more proactive. This is just the basic demographics of the department. As you can see, over the last couple of years, well, this is really reflective of the last couple of years, we've grown the department where we've increased the number of minorities, particularly where females, you have females over here, that's probably that. So we're becoming more reflective of the community. We got some work to do in certain areas, but we are trying to become more reflective of the community. Our fleet management, I'm going to turn over to Lieutenant Jacobellis. This is the area where I'm going to, so as we grow the department, we have to grow our fleet. And I know this is a point of contention with Ken. We have to grow our fleet. If I have more police officers, I have to have cars for them to drive. Now, we want to do walking details and other things, but if I don't have cars for them to drive, you know, it just kind of handcuffs us. Right?
Good evening, everyone. So, in our fleet services, you see our cars driving around all the time. I don't have to tell you the shape they're in. Some of them are new, all right, we have some new ones, but most of them, current average is 9 years old. That's an average. So we have some that are older, some that are younger. Some of our vehicles, believe it or not, 2007s. We have a bunch of those out there. The ACO is actually using a 2004 Crown Vic still. There's stuff like that that we're kind of floating around. So that's one of the capital requests, was to try to fix some of that. So we can get into that. But Ken is proposing some capital for vehicles. So I know it was we're at 500, I think, for the capital. We were looking to try to add an additional 100,000 to that if we can, because that'll get us to 600. So we can purchase a couple more cars with that, which is very beneficial to get us to a little bit of a better place. But it's not going to fix everything, but we'll see what we can do. A lot of our cars are over 100,000 miles. The consistent vehicle replacement cycle, this is a tough one because we are always hitting capital to try to fill voids. If at some point when we're in a little better position financially as a city, if we start, we have a vehicles line item. So if we take that vehicle line item and then just increase that, at some, it'll just be kind of like rolling over year to year. It'll be like an expected expense, and then we won't have to just hit the capital all the time. But it all depends on what's going to be the better way for the city to operate, and that's Ken's department. So however he feels we should do it. But there's a couple ways to do it, but nothing's cheap, unfortunately. These cars cost so much more money now. And because these Dodge Chargers are discontinued, so we can't buy the Chargers any longer. We're buying Durangos. There are other options on the market we can look at, but you know, it all depends on how we feel as far as what we can do. So say we went to a whole different fleet, completely different car, now you've got to buy replacement parts for that car. So there are a lot of other implications as far as starting with a new type of vehicle. I know that came up last year, so I remember that from last year, so we'll just kind of address that. But we have maintenance costs are through the roof. Parts are crazy expensive. We're having a hard time keeping up with it. There are some increases that we put in for parts, and Ken was nice enough to keep it in. The mayor kept it in, so we're hoping that we can keep that there. That's going to be a more accurate figure for what we spend every year versus trying to find money in places and transfer to that line. So And obviously the safety concerns because of the cars not being in great shape. This is a very simple chart. What this is all of our marked police cars, each line is a separate car, okay? This is the mileage on the cars. So where the blue ones are, that's below 100,000 miles. The two that are, the three right below the red are at 80,000 and 90,000 basically. From the red up is 90,000 miles or more. So this is where our fleet is right now. This is true numbers as of yesterday. So I wanted to get the most accurate that we can get. This puts it in perspective for you to see, like, okay, we're really trying to do the best we can to keep it going, but this is why our parts cost so much. We're spending so much on parts because we're putting $4,000 or $5,000 into cars that are 170,000 miles, 160,000 miles. I know I wouldn't do that in my own personal car. So it's just a way of just looking at it and trying to be smarter with our money. But we do have to keep our cars on the road, so sometimes we have no choice than to spend a few thousand on a car you likely otherwise might not, right? So there's that. Part of the fleet modernization needs, there's certain things that we have to comply with. Connected police accountability, where it becomes, we're talking about transparency laws, body cam, dash cams, all those things. All of those things are very, very expensive, but we have to integrate our MBTs with our body cam systems, dash cam systems, upgrading to Windows 11. We've done that everywhere we can. There are some Windows 10 still residing in our cars. We're hoping to get those out by October of this year. That's our goal. It's going to cost some money to do it, but we're prepared and we're going to try to make that happen. There were certain things that we had to do to extend the Windows 10 licensing support, and I worked with Curtis Denton to make that happen. So we're in good shape there. We really do need like 40 cars. I mean, 30, 35, 40 cars is going to get us in a good place. I know we're doing what we can this year, but this is something to just think about for future years, especially if we increase the numbers of our officers and our ranks over the next few years. We're really going to have to think about that. Current cost is $65,000 each. That's about, you're looking at, I got a good deal on the cars we just bought, but I don't know if we're going to get that deal again, but let's just say it's around $45,000 for the vehicle, and that's not the sticker price, it's like our kind of, working with the dealer. And then we have to put about $20,000, $19,000 and change of equipment into each one of those cars. So that's where you get the $65,000. We do what we can to cut corners, and that's where we are. I mean, it's the lowest bidder. So other places that we were looking at, they were going to cost more. So we went with the lowest that we could, and so far it's been working pretty well. New vehicles, the Dodges include 3-year, 36,000 miles, bumper to bumper. If we operate them more than 8 hours a day, which a lot of these cars are actually running 24 hours a day right now, if we run them 8 hours a day, we can extend that license for 3 years, or the warranty. If we're running them for anything more than that, we start etching away into that warranty, and then more of the expense becomes on our department to keep them going versus the dealer. So it's just one of those things to think about with the new cars. So, okay.
Thanks, Lieutenant. Before I introduce our technology person, so back probably.
I think there were a couple things you guys. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
A little bit. So, yeah. So we kind of share some of the responsibilities of technology. I handle the technology for the department as my normal day job. But then Melody comes in when it comes to our real-time crime center. So we'll talk about some of that. We have an unfortunate expense that we did not know about when it came time to submit our budget request this year. It's not a huge expense. I was able to get them to this price for the year. It could be a lot worse, believe me. But what we need to do to maintain our CJIS compliance, that's the whole FBI standard that we have to abide by. We have to look at trying to do something like this. So this is a cloud storage option where we can share case files like pictures, videos, cell phone information, anything that we have to put into a case with the court systems. That's federal and state, and they all use this particular platform. And this is the best. I was like dealing with the guy on the phone trying to get, I'm on a video call, trying to get them to lower the price. This is the best that he can do for his guidelines. So this is like year one. Year two would be an increase from that. So, this is just to get us in the door. Now, obviously, this is a contract thing, so we have to go and get contracts, bring them to you folks, and see what we do. But maybe, the city council would be able to beat them up more on the price, I don't know. But, you never know. But this is kind of where we're kind of stuck on this. The biggest problem is the way the court wants these things right now, and not to get too into the weeds and tech. They want it to be on a portable storage drive or USB drive, and there's some implications in that because you plug in the storage drive, it takes a really long time to scan. And if we're doing any video stuff, you're sitting there for 7, 8 hours waiting for the thing to scan, and then you can't even write to the drive, and then you can't bring it to court. And so that's been the court standard, is that no longer meets this compliance. So we can't do this, and we can't do what the court wanted anymore, we have to do it this kind of way. So, there's not really much way around it, it just is what it is. So I wanted to put it out there. So we're asking for this particular number as an increase on one of our technology lines. Yes,
I just
sir.
want, I'm sorry, the chair,
Yes.
what's CHIS mean?
Oh, so that's the criminal justice systems, that's the FBI standard.
So that's criminal justice.
Information systems, yeah, so it's anything to do with NCIC collect, FBI, national computer stuff, any of that secure personal information. Then when we run somebody for criminal history, background checks, triple I, there's all these different monikers to use, but that is the all encompassing of that. And it's a compliance, and it's actually a federal law.
You say image, so that's like a drone?
No, we have to share information from case files, so there might be video from like the store that got robbed, a house that was burglarized. They have a video surveillance system, we have to take those videos and send them over to court. So, and sometimes they're image data, meaning like pictures, like photos. But hopefully I answered your question, yes.
Okay.
Any others on any?
No?
Okay. Thank you. And so this is a breakdown of where, so that 36,730 you see on year one there, that encompasses everything in option one. Option two is a lot more money. I said, there's no way, I don't think we can afford option two. So I kept pushing it down to option one. That's kind of like the minimum amount of storage they offer for cloud storage. And that's shared, that's our entire department. Well, a total of 15 licenses worth would be able to utilize that. So there's certain detectives that would need it, some people in internal affairs that need it, whatever. So we'd have to share that expense that way, or share the space. But that's kind of what we're looking at for figures. And it includes all of this blue is included in that. If we want to omit any of that blue, we could obviously lower that price, but that's where it comes to contract negotiation time. But I told him, tell me everything that you have, so we know. So we have a heads up on it, and we know what we're looking at. Okay? I mean, I can explain some of this too if you want, but I don't think it's kind of too short for that. So for Real-Time Crime Center, this is where I'll turn it over to Melanie Sy.
Before Melanie goes, I just wanted to mention, 20 years ago, roughly in 2006, when we had Brian Noel was our police chief, that was the largest fleet upgrade we had ever had in our department, where we were able to buy enough cars for every shift that has some individual cars. And we've been trying to get back to that. If we could ever get back to the part where each shift had their own individual cars, the cars wouldn't have to run 24 hours, and they would be less maintenance, and their lifespan would be much better. So if we could ever get back to that would be good.
Hi, I'm Melanie. I work in the Real-Time Crime Center. Assistant Chief Closey and I have kind of been trying to maintain everything that's been going on since AC Craig retired. He was, in charge of the whole thing. Right now, we're trying to maintain everything we have. So a lot of the technology we have now is initially grant funded. I know that we mentioned like the POC and stuff, trying to apply for grants to assist
Oh, sorry, she couldn't hear you.
Sorry, okay. So a lot of the technology we have is initially covered by the cost of grants. unfortunately, grants don't sustain the technology. They will put up the initial cost for implementing that technology, and then after the grant period, which is usually 3 or 4 years of a project, it's then incumbent on the city to maintain the things that are implemented. So we do apply for as many grant opportunities as we can to bring new software to help the police department. Then our main concern is sustaining those after we bring them on. So one of the main costs that we're trying to figure out right now, and Ken was instrumental in helping us do it this time around, is our shot spotter technology. It is incredibly useful for the city of Bridgeport and the police officers. It improves the response time, detects gunshots immediately, letting the fusion center know, the patrol officers know, an exact location of where gunshots are being fired. Sometimes we don't get 911 calls for shots fired. We completely rely on shots fired to even locate a crime scene, know that there's one to exist, and be able to pick up pieces of evidence to help solve those crimes. It is costly, but it is definitely worth it and the benefits. So it's like just some of the instances where shot spotter was like incredibly useful for officers in collaboration with the fusion center. When the shot spotter activations occurred, patrol officers in the area was really alerted to the exact location, able to canvas for anything you can see in the area with collaboration with the fusion center, which normally has cameras in the area and can relay that information over channel 1 radio to officers in the area. Many times we did not get 911, like these incidences, we didn't get 911 calls, we got shot spotter activations, and they were able to go to the scenes, resulting in the seizure of illegally owned firearms, shell casings that were able to be put through our ballistic system and track firearms, further removing more firearms from the streets. This is just some of the things that happened this year so far, firearms that were recovered at the scene of shot spotter activations. The real-time crime center, aside from ShotSpotter, we have cameras across the city in collaboration with the Board of Education. We have officers proactively monitoring those cameras 16 to 20 hours a day, trying to make sure that we can locate incidents before they arise, and also monitoring them in collaboration with patrol and our task forces and our tactical narcotics unit to help identify suspects, vehicles, and witnesses in the areas when crimes do occur. It is incredibly useful and a huge contributor to the Detective Bureau's solvability rate. As the chief said, our detectives do amazing work. They have strong investigative skills. A lot of times they will contact the Fusion Center to look for video footage of crimes that they're investigating. For court purposes, it's pretty much irrefutable evidence when a suspect is caught on camera committing a crime. So it is also an invaluable technology. This is just some of the highlights of the Fusion Center in collaboration with the task force. Like we kind of prioritize also obviously anything that happened in an incident in the school area. We had a sexual assault in the area of Bassett High School a few months ago that after we received 911 calls, officers working in the Fusion Center at that day and time were able to quickly identify a suspect, get a description out to patrol in our task force, which resulted in the apprehension of the suspect within 2 hours of the 911 call. Without the cameras at Bassett High School and the safe corridors surrounding that area, that would have been greatly delayed. Also, a few days ago, actually, we had several 911 calls about an individual waving a firearm in the area of Stratford and Union. Fusion Center operators were able to get eyes on the suspect and relay same thing, suspect information over channel 1 and send additional units to cover because they did confirm that the individual did have a firearm. And for officer safety purposes, that was instrumental too, to be able to get eyes on that. Okay, so like the cost of those two major things. ShotSpotter costs approximately $68,000 per square mile annually, and we have around the 7.5 to 8 square miles covered right now. We do anticipate that cost annually. However, this previous year, the Housing Authority was sharing that cost with the Bridgeport Police Department, but due to federal budget constraints on their end, they were not able to cover their normal cost of it annually this year. So when I say it was instrumental in being able to make sure we located the money to make up for what the Housing Authority could not contribute, to make sure there was no lapse in coverage or any loss of coverage area for ShotSpotter, which would have been a major concern for us to decide where to cut any sort of coverage from. So we are asking, obviously, budgeting for that and anticipating the additional cost of having no longer having the Housing Authority able to contribute to that. Aside from ShotSpotter, the camera coverage, those are also kind of the anticipated cost is $80,000 for 3 years of the software that allows us to view all the video streams from the cameras that we have. The unanticipated cost that we
are facing right now is when a camera goes down and getting the equipment and the servicing that we need to get that camera back up and running. Obviously, we want to prioritize things that are in areas surrounding the schools and areas of high active crimes. We monitor that as well. Right now, depending on what the issue is with the camera, some of our cameras are so old that they just need to be replaced at that point too. Depending on the issue, if we can service it, we will. We're paying per camera, per intersection to replace them right now. We're looking and requesting to move forward to an annual maintenance contract with our camera vendor. Essential, a one-time fee, which would let us have 24/7 access to their staff to deploy them to those locations of cameras and get them back up and running right away, and not paying for individual cameras. It'd be a one-time fee to service them all.
Thank you, Melanie. Chief Capozzi's gonna give you an overview of overtime, and some of the things we put in place to do our best to control overtime.
Good evening. I know this has been a long presentation, so I will be quick. First off, I want to thank you guys for allowing me to be Assistant Chief. I'm looking forward to working collaboratively with you to move Bridgeport forward. A couple things. The Cornerstone police departments nowadays operate up to 21st century policing. One of the cornerstones of community 21st century policing is community policing and crime reduction. You are the community, you represent the community, we serve the public. The root of community policing is identifying potential real problems, working collaboratively together to come up with real and sustainable solutions, and this is why we're here today. Now, in the interest of accountability and transparency, I'm willing to meet, like the chief had said, with the council president throughout the year quarterly to make sure that we're being held accountable for our expenses. It's our job to be fiscally responsible. Now, to this effort, or to this, when I first came in, I didn't have any metrics to guide anything by. So I developed a system so we could see where the overtime, so we could track the overtime costs and see where it's all going. So I divided the system up through uniform system, based on the organizational task. We have uniform services, investigative services, administrative services, special detail, proactive detail, our ESUs, Marine and scuba units. So all the overtime is accounted for. Now, there's some things, I don't want to be disingenuous and say that because if we get more people, overtime will come down. There's some constants, no matter what police department that everybody deals, there's constant overtime costs that will always come up. The first one is just the cost of doing modern day policing. As you guys know, modern policing is no longer just responding to calls, to investigating criminal complaints. Only about 20% of what you're doing is going to be criminal related. The rest of your time is going to be devoted to maintaining social order, dealing with social services, and administrative functions. These extra tasks increase your workload. There's legal mandates, there's a lot of documentation that has to be done. I was talking about this with the chief earlier. Even when you go to a domestic nowadays, this has been in recent years. You have risk warrants that might have to be done if there's a threat of a gun. That's a search warrant where you have to take 2 people off the road, you have to get all the information, you have to go to a prosecutor, you have to get a judge, then you have to go serve the search warrant. That's even at the patrol level for a domestic. You also have the lethality assessment. If there's kids involved, you have to get DCF. These are things that will drive overtime costs up because you have to document everything. Now, a couple other things here. Bridgeport is a culturally diverse city. We have a lot of parades and festivals. We have charity events, we have 5K runs. All that requires police presence. And I have everything documented as how much the cost is. And if you do not have these protections in place, it's a liability for the city. If someone got hurt at one of these festivals, one of these protests, one of these charity events, and we didn't have adequate police coverage, we open the city up for liability. Now, there's other things. Obviously, with major events and investigations, it's going to require more of a police response. And investigations can be very time consuming, especially if it's a more serious event. Not only do you have to secure the crime scene, you have to have detectives come in. And sometimes, depending on the crime scene, you might have multiple people, especially if it's a shooting. You might have to block off a large area because you could always make the crime scene smaller, but you have to initially start, and it takes a lot to block off the sessions. And you have to always document who's coming into the crime scenes. There's a lot of work that goes into it. You have to identify witnesses, suspects, locate any video. When the detectives come in, and you guys, I don't want to preach to the choir here, you know there's Fourth Amendment rights, or Fourth Amendment protections that everybody has. All right, you have to be cognizant of that as a cop. And when detectives come in, you have to re-interview witnesses, get the information, again, go through the process of a search warrant, because if it's a serious case, the court is gonna want you to do a search warrant as opposed to consent, because consent you withdraw at any time. You have to review body cam, there's a lot that goes into this. Now, even after the case is done, there's unavoidable, these aren't optional, discretional overtime. As time goes on, it could be a serious case, it could be a motor vehicle case, it could be a juvenile, it could be a motor vehicle. You might be summoned to court where you have to deal with, or talk with the prosecutors, you might be selected as one of the people because of whatever you did, whatever your part was, no matter how small or big. I mean, in my past, I've been on standby, and it was off, it wasn't on my work because I was working the afternoons at the time, but you have to pay overtime, it's a cost that you can't, it's an unexpected cost that comes. And those are the things that you have to think about. One of the biggest hitting costs of overtime is watching people at the hospital. You can't deny people, if someone in your custody requests medical attention, you have to respond, you have to send them to the hospital. And everybody who ends up probably spending 2 or 3 nights in Bridgeport usually gets with jailitis and would rather spend the time in the hospital, but you have to take them there. And if they say, if they do a psychological evaluation, they can be held for up to anywhere from 24 to 72 hours. You are responsible for that person. Those are hidden costs that will drive overtime up because you still have to be able to function throughout the city and take calls. There's also been increased calls that are non-criminal. We're dealing a lot, and this is nationwide, with mental health issues, homeless, substance abuse issues. These aren't things that you're going to necessarily, as the police response, going to arrest. We have social services that deal with this, but homeless people also have a lot of rights. It takes a lot of resources to get the person who you're dealing with to wherever so that they can get safe, and they can deny everything. Because I know in the winter, those 2 big storms we had, the homeless, rightly so. I know Councilwoman Martinez was big on it. We had to go out and offer the homeless people the help that they get. So in that extreme case, there you could take a homeless person and force them to go to the hospital or put them in a home or whatever it is. The moment they walk out, they have more rights. You can't do anything with it. All right. So and we're dealing with these types of issues. Other things, there's mandatory training that increases overtime. One of the pillars of the 21st century policing and protects everybody from liability is training and education. The Chief Porter has been instrumental. There's certain things that you have to do every year: firearms, use of force, body cams, and Chief extends it. He wants once a year the implicit bias, cultural training, diversity, and when you do this, there's blocks of times where you have to take officers off the road, and you have to backfill. And there's also, even if we were fully staffed, there's other things you have to count. The real officers, they have available to work. There's always FMLA, there's injuries, there's light duty, long-term injury. The long-term injuries you could prepare for, but when people call in sick, like Chief had alluded to, there's new laws that makes it harder or more challenging to enforce sick time violations. And the other thing, we already touched upon the staffing stuff. Most of we're divided into 3 sectors: amber, blue, and green. Each sector, there's 21 areas of responsibility, divided up by 7 areas of responsibility in each sector. And when you hire patrolmen, you have to have supervision. The 1 to 7 thing is paramount. In a city like Bridgeport, you could be dealing with multiple events. When you go to that 1 to 10, it's not the major call that's probably going to cause the problem. It's the little call that you miss. Something in the domestic that you missed. Something where someone should have been arrested or someone shouldn't have been arrested, but the supervisor was tied up in other stuff because the span of control was too big. This is why it's important, and I thank you for allowing us to promote the new sergeants, because it will help. But we don't always have those bodies available. Now, with that said, I went a little too long. So here's, it wasn't that long, was it? All right, so well, these are the proactive details. This is all comes out of the uniform services. Wait, switch that. Where?
You want to go back there?
No, you missed one. Wait, you're killing me. Here we go. No, back up to uniform, please. All right, here we go. No. Yep, right here. Yes, just understand, when I first came, we started tracking. This is done by fiscal year. If you look at July, we started off actually really good with some stadium. We were monitoring it, and I did forget to tell you that we did put systems in place. One, you always need a supervisor's approval. Patrol isn't really, let's just say you have 10 areas that need to fill, you only have 6 bodies, it's just basically you call it the next 4. Discretionary overtime, really in investigative service and administrative services where that discretionary overtime had to be controlled. But here, everything was, we were going good until, there was an increase in November. Part of that was Operation Purple Shield. We did a domestic violence sweep and a sexual assault, also with sexual assault warrants in there. What killed us was January, February, and March, and I spoke about it with Councilman Ortiz. What it was, we had 2 major snowstorms. It costed $60,000 for both of them. There's no reimbursement because it wasn't FEMA, it was a state emergency, not a FEMA emergency. And we had a homicide. We had a couple of assaults with firearms, and we had, the information we have is that it's young kids from Green Homes and Trumbull Gardens were recklessly firing 20, 30 rounds at it, and it was happening multiple times. You don't want to see anybody get hurt, but you definitely don't want to see an innocent party get hurt, so we had to have these details up there. Those details, it's worth the expense, and I have it, but that's what caused these 3 months to go up. Now, every week we have a ComStat meeting. We discuss the overtime trends. We discuss where we can cut it. Now, I will say that the overtime increases weren't from mismanagement. It was more for operational necessity. But it's not just because you're short. I don't want to be disingenuous. Even if we have a full staff to 400. And by the way, I know people are thinking 400, why you need 400? That comes from the IACP, International Association of Chief of Police, and they have a standard of roughly 2.5 for every 1,000 residents. Bridgeport roughly has 150,000 residents. This is where the number comes up. When you divide it, that's where it comes. All right. Now, and also, you guys know Bridgeport is a growing city. You have the Steel Point. It's $9,000 a month to rent something to that effect.
It's almost 10.
Almost 10. Right. But our job is public safety, working with everybody, because if they feel safe, you're going to see from there. You're going to start restaurants, bars, everything to be a vibrant nightlife. Our job is to provide that safety, be fiscally responsible, and have that omnipresence, because what will drive crime down further, and you guys already noticed, the more vibrant economy you have, the more jobs you have. We have a 21% poverty rate. That will come down. That really will affect crime more than anything that we can do. But go ahead, next. Keep going, just whip through this. What is the sick time? Sick time always affects it, but here's the investigative services. Again, this is discretionary overtime that we were doing. We did see some savings. Some months were up, some months were down, and this is ours. There's no statistical jujitsu here. Whatever it is, it is. We analyze it, monitor it. Go ahead, next. One thing with the sick time, especially with more so on patrol. When you have a lieutenant, sergeant, or officer, that you're more than likely going to have to backfill. Sick time definitely affects you're already starting off in a deficit. And all the things I just mentioned increase the overtime. So basically this is everything. I have everything accounted for. We are, right now, we are showing a savings. I'm not going to say it's going to be a whole lot. Last year, I want to say, I can't remember the total, it was like 12 million. Right now, we're at 9 million, so we will see some savings. But the point is that we're tracking it and we're willing to meet and talk with anybody. Another set of eyes on overtime or discretionary overtime or how we operate would be greatly appreciated, and it's just working together to solve any problems.
Okay.
Good enough?
All right. Thanks, Assistant Chief Proposer. So, sorry that we were long. I know we have a lot, so we wanted to try and cover as much as possible. As you can see, we put some systems in place to be more efficient and more effective, and we're going to continue to do that. The good thing is Bridgeport is growing. As the Assistant Chief mentioned, Steel Point's coming online, so we're going to have to add more protections to that. We didn't use any crime stats, but everything you see and everything we spend is results in where we are today. We were historically low in crime stats last year, and to this point, this year versus last year, we're even lower. Only 4%, but we're even lower. So, thank you.
All right.
Yes.
So we're gonna. Yeah. Okay. So Ernie.
Yeah, Chief, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
I hate to be the devil's advocate. We bought new police cars, came sitting here. And some police officers crashed before they even. Do you guys monitor how these guys drive? Listen, I know they got to do their job, but some of you guys, you know, you all need to talk to your drivers, serious. Because they're not, I know they gotta do a job, but their driving experience, crashing our cars, man, and am I joking? We bought brand new cars,
Yeah.
and before they got off the lot, they were crashed.
You have a valid point.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, and so,
I think we
yeah.
need to check that.
Yeah, and so, you know, there's something we address on a regular basis with our officers. I would love for one of you guys to come to our lineups, so they don't think I'm making it up. They think I'm, not only do I hear from you guys, I hear from Taisha, the city attorney, about when we have to, not only do we lose a car, if it's our fault, we have to pay for the other person's car. So it's something we do. We discipline our officers when they're involved in these accidents. I've been hammering a lot with discipline as it relates to accidents. Officers aren't happy, but yeah, I understand it. You know, we had a brand new car. I don't think it was on the road. I guess less than 14.
Those are candidates for the walking beat, by the way.
Yeah. So we are going to do things when it happens. So that's a valid point, and I understand.
The second question.
No, 14,000 miles.
The second question is, help me understand, we have a lot of lawsuits. I won't say just against our police officers, our police officers filing lawsuits. It costs the city a lot of money.
Yeah.
So can you help me understand a little bit what's going on?
Yeah, so that's a good, valid point, right? And I think we are in a litigious society where everyone, their go-to response for any feelings of being slighted is, I'm gonna file a lawsuit. We are in a society where there's a level of entitlement by individuals where they feel if I don't get what I want, or even with the overtime, if I don't get what I want, I'm gonna sue you. Even our citizens, if the cops look at a person wrong, I'm filing a lawsuit against the person. So I'll just say, we try to run a respectful, professional, inviting environment where everyone is treated fairly, everyone's given opportunity, and we preach and practice that. So that's the way I lead. But there's times when there's certain individuals, if you cut my overtime, you're picking on me. If I don't get this assignment, you're picking on me, and they file. With our officers, as they deal with the public, I preach empathy and compassion. However, sometimes that still results in lawsuits. So I'm cognizant of it. And,
Okay.
All right, Nicole.
Chief Porter, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
The first one is, because I'm not well-versed, well-knowledged on the ranking. So if you can help me understand the rank, like from police officer to lieutenant to sergeant.
Sure. So we go from, you want me to go bottom up?
Yes, please.
So we start out as a patrol officer, and then you could, detective is not necessarily a promotion, it's more of a classification because they're not supervisors. So you go from from police officer to detective, or you can go up to sergeant. And then from sergeant, you can go to lieutenant. From lieutenant, you can go to captain. From a captain, we have a non-competitive assistant chief's position to the chief of police.
Okay. And my second.
Do we have the org? I'll get you one of our org charts so you can see. I'll get you.
I was going through this, but
I'll
I
get you
didn't know
something that'll
if.
help you clarify.
All
That will
right.
give you a clear understanding.
Okay, all right, thank you. And I noticed on page 192, the health insurance city share, it's no. What is the actual amount for the health insurance city share?
No, I'm
So I'm not sure if I can answer this question. So the munis, by the way, automatically populates health per person based on a formula that comes from the benefits office. But the average employee, including police officers, is contributing between 25 and 33%, depending on when they were hired and which union they're in. Most, I would say the majority, are 25% now of the cost of the health insurance. So the city is paying either 75%, sometimes it's 70%, but most of the time 75% of the cost. And for individual family and couples in the family, it's a pretty hefty annual cost, you know, per average person. Just health insurance nationally, you know, I think the committee heard this the first week, you know, nationally, it's up over 10% this year. Our state plan, unfortunately, is up over 13%, and it's very tough. It's very difficult nationally for everybody, whether you're individual or whether you're working for government.
And if I could, in the police department, what you're gonna see over the next 5 to 10 years, more people are gonna be going 33% or more, because the officers who were hired and who are still under that 25 are gonna start to age out. So it's gonna be, the officers who are gonna be around longer are paying a higher. That's on.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mary Lee.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think that there's an officer assigned to each district, or there used to be. I believe I say that because one day I had something up to my church and he showed up. He said that he represent my district. And the other thing is that still in effect, is there's in their job description, do they just automatically assigned to that because they're a police officer, or is that in the budget?
No, so each patrolman, like Assistant Chief Capozzi mentioned earlier, we're divided into 3 sectors, and officers are assigned to a particular sector and a particular post, and usually they'll spend a couple of years in those particular sectors and posts. So it's broken up into 3, amber, blue, and green, and so they'll spend those times in those sectors for a couple of years, and then every couple of years we'll rotate them to different areas of the city.
Oh, so I might not have my good guy now.
Well, he may be there for a couple of more years. It depends on when we do rotation.
Okay, and the other thing I want to say about the overtime, I didn't realize that parades cost so much money. You know, huh? It cost a whole lot of money.
So,
what the Juneteenth parade.
These are the parades. So this is what we. Okay.
No, I'm sorry, that was the Green Homes. I had the cost up here. Keep it on. No. Here we go.
Yeah, but, here. So this is what we pay
That's the cost of the parade.
for the parades. So the Juneteenth is usually the lowest because we do it in the park and there's no blocking street, so that's what we pay for Juneteenth. And so the officers get an overtime rate when they work events like this. And so every officer that works, they're getting time and a half. So yeah, it could add up.
Well, maybe, I'll discuss that in the budget then, but maybe we start paying for some of these parades ourselves, maybe so the thing will go down. And I was looking at, and I was listening at, you know, you all being sued all the time. And now, I can kind of understand you all being sued because you trying to protect us, but I can't understand how these other people, we have to pay for them, you know, and they go for the city because the city have, I don't have nothing to do with them patting folks on the high end, all this carrying on stuff, I don't have nothing to do with that. We shouldn't have to pay for that, you know what I mean? And I was looking at this right here that says that you favor and this is budget now, so don't look at me funny. You favor the African Americans or the Hispanic or whoever the case might be. This thing says 48% white folks is on the police force, you know. And then I look at who you brought with you tonight. I'm not doing you now, I'm just saying. I don't see any of us on that. So, you know, and I'm just saying, as far as the overtime is concerned and people suing, y'all concerned, I really don't understand it because really truly, I think now that the attorney's office should be more careful about who they defend. When they do something, it should be in the paper like everybody else. If you commit a crime, it should be in the paper. And then they wouldn't be so good. Then it'd be just like Alabama you go on that, you know, you wear that white and black flag and you work the road, and nobody wanna see them out on the road. So they come in and cry. So I ain't gonna say that, you trying to shut me up.
Appreciate it. Okay.
Are you trying to shut me up?
No, I want to stick to the numbers, that's all, Mary.
Okay, thank you.
I get the other point that you're making.
You agree with me, right?
Yeah, I agree with you, I just want to keep the numbers up.
Yeah, that's my partner right there.
I agree with you on that one.
And I'll just say, we try to be fair, and I think diversity is good, and you know, opportunity is good for everybody. And but you know, at the end of the day, it's all about compatibility and quality, and that's
You've done a great job, by the way.
No problem.
Thank you.
All right, Anita.
All right, Chief, this might be for Ken first. I got 20 rounds today. Ken, page 186, item 41365, accident towers list permits. Are you there?
Yep.
Okay. 13550, now we got FY 26, 5,000, FY 27, 5,000, FY 27, 5,000. Is that the list of the fees for the towers?
So
Is that the new fee that you added on there? Is that what the 5,000 is?
So they book it in usually, I believe, to the permit line fee, the one before that.
No, I'm on item 41365, don't try to confuse me. What page?
Right.
186.
No, what you're saying, right.
So that is where I believe the fees should be booked. I don't know how the department books the towing stuff. There are honestly, there's 5 or 6 towing lines. To me, it should just be one line because half of them are 0 and they never come in, but we just leave it in the budget because it's a small line and there's hope that we'll find it in the future.
Could you relate to that, Chief? That, I want that, I need that question answered, please. 186.
So what are you specifically asking?
41365, the fee.
I think
It
some of
went
the
from
chief
40,000 to 13,000 to 5,000 to 5,000 to 5,000.
So, you know, over the last couple of years, there was an issue on what we could charge and what we could not charge. And, you know, there was a time because they said there was a question of whether we were legally able to charge a certain amount.
But that's for the permit, for the towers application is my question.
So I think.
Is it?
I'm
Yes
sorry.
or no?
But Councilmember Martinez, I think what's happening is in the booking, some of them, again, I don't know when the office books it there, but some of it may have gone into the fines account, 41646. And I think there's a little mix up in how it gets booked some, because there's been different people doing the accounting. So I'm pretty sure.
The reason I'm asking this question is because I'm working on the towing ordinance, and I'm deep into this towing, tracking this. This is not accurate. So the $5,000, they wanted to up it to $5,000, but that ordinance did not pass. So it is still at the $3,000. The reason I'm saying that is because I want to save the police department some grief on numbers. You all are not making that profit this fiscal year. The numbers stay the same, it's still at 3,000, so it's overdue $2,000. And then we have, all these charges are not right. I'm sure that the chief got some help in putting these numbers in. Then we have towing fines here, $33,475. It was projected that the fees would go up to $10,000, but that didn't happen. That did not happen, and that's an additional line item to what we already have, which is 41365. There are 2 fees, the total of your fees for the accident, 1 and abandoned cars. In total, your total fees that you're getting from your towers for their permit is $3,600 something for this fiscal year until the ordinance is redone.
And then we're gonna be at 5,000.
Not right now though, so it should not, your numbers on here should not read 5,000. So let me go down to, I have another issue. See, I told you, this is my second question, then put me for the next round.
Okay, is your second one
Yes.
going to now?
Yes.
Okay, well, you.
So, I mean, I don't believe we do those.
I know you don't, and that's why I wanna correct it on the record, because it didn't come from you. Okay, and I don't want it to look like it's what your revenue is, because it's inaccurate.
Yeah, those numbers have been that way a long time, and very
Yeah,
honestly,
so we
it's
gotta
small
correct
budget
those
lines.
numbers, Ken.
I
So,
don't have the expertise to know how to correct it.
school bus
To be very
violation
honest.
fines, that's another issue.
Never comes to
Is
me.
your second question, right? Yeah. All right.
It's down on the bottom.
That's just a.
School bus violation fines, 41683, page 186. Fiscal year 25, $1,143,545. My question is under the police department's budget, does the police department see this revenue?
No, we don't see that.
Okay, so Ken, why is this under the police department's budget? Because they are not seeing it, it's overseen through another department.
Yeah, we're not even overseeing.
So through the-
Exactly.
So through the chair, this is city policy. No department owns their revenue. No department, not tax office,
I
not
get that,
police,
but it
not
should
fire.
not be under the police department's
I don't know.
revenue.
Again, I inherited this, I don't know why it was
Well, we
put
need
there
to,
when it started.
we need
But
to
I'm
inherit
pointing
it,
it
that's not
through the
fair.
chair, sorry, it doesn't matter. It's
Nope.
city general fund revenue.
Nope, it should not, and
It doesn't
I'm
get
not gonna
utilized
go
by
on the
the
record
department.
as to why, but it should not.
So
It
we
should
would
not.
love to have that in our funds, but we obviously, the city
All right.
general.
All right, get the question on that one.
Should be in the Board of Ed.
Thank you, yeah.
Board,
All right.
yeah.
Go to
Okay.
the Board of
Board of
Ed.
Ed, the school bus, I would.
All right. Get out.
City paid for it.
Michelle.
Okay, thank you.
General.
Okay.
Okay. I have a question. Where in the budget here shows you, because I just asked Ken the same question, where it shows you how much you get for the no parking fees? When the police officers go out and it says no parking,
That goes into the general fund as well.
And to help through the chair, because I've shown Michelle, for whatever reason, again, historically, it's under Public Facilities Administration, probably because they have the office where people come in. But-
so you're saying,
But folks,
Through the chair.
please try to understand, and those of you that are on the council for years know this. It doesn't matter which, we can take all, it doesn't matter, we can take all the revenue and put it in city general revenue, it's city money. It doesn't get given to the department to spend, it doesn't get given to any office to spend, it's city general money. So it doesn't, you know.
All right.
so maybe,
Hold on.
so maybe we could look to see if
It covers some
increasing,
of the
maybe
city money.
increasing those fees or whatever. But since that's not on GU, I'm not gonna worry about that right now. The other, and also too is, can you please send the rest of the council copies, because I don't have a
Yeah, I'm
copy
sorry,
of
we'll
all
email
this.
it.
If
We'll-
you
we'll
don't mind,
email.
I would
Yeah,
appreciate
no,
that,
I-
because it does take all of us to vote on this budget, you
All right,
know?
no problem.
Okay, the second question is, your patrol officers, they have a base pay. So when you, during the budget for all your patrol officers, whether they're starting off new or midsection, when they're starting advance, okay, do you put in the budget, well, I saw that you go for sergeants, captains, detectives.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so do you foresee and do you know ahead of time when you're looking at your base police officers, who's gonna be advanced, and do you put that money into the budget foreseeing this?
For SEMA,
Yes.
so our officers have a tier, right? So they start out like
Right, that's
step
the one,
one, they
yeah.
go up tiers.
Okay.
And yeah, that's allotted for us, so we know when you get to a certain number of years, those officers' pay will go up. But there's a cap for each rank, so I believe like for patrol officers at 5 years, that's when they hit their top pay. So we know when people are going up, and that's budgeted for because it's a part of their salaries and benefits.
Is that included, just to clarify this, is that included for like your lieutenant in your community services?
Yes.
So he has, there's one officer there, right?
Well, we don't have anyone yet, that's something we want to project, but yes, so that, what would happen is, if that lieutenant is a brand-new lieutenant, they start out at like step one, but over a course of a couple of months or so, they'll go to top step. So at some point, so say, I'm just roughly, say the lieutenant is $100,000, and then in, say, 6 months to a year, that pay will go up, and then their base pay will stop at that particular point. So there are tiers, which is in each rank, to get the top step pay.
Thank you. I'm gonna be leaving, so do you mind if I just close out one thing? The community officer, he takes care of
Nope.
Is that all the community services that you had in the building, that's over and
So,
split for?
we want to grow that back because we've been so short,
That's
we
what
haven't
I'm
been able
curious.
to have as many as we want, so we want to grow that. That's a part of our plan, is to get that back to where it was, and they're out more doing stuff in the
Okay.
community.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all I
Okay.
needed to know.
Denise, thanks.
Okay, I really just have maybe two statements that I want to make. First off, I want to thank the police department, I want to thank you, chief. I want to thank for the work that you guys have been doing in regards to bringing the crime down. As we know, when the crime comes down, especially with the murder cases and stuff, or with people getting afflicted with gunshot wounds and have to live the rest of their life in a wheelchair, whatever, that deals with a lot of different stuff that the city of Bridgeport has to deal with. So I want to thank you for bringing the crime down, which brings down the numbers, and hopefully you guys will be able to get the things that you need. I especially want to say something to the officer that was just speaking in regards to the body cams and different things of that nature, and going to court and dealing with all that stuff. I do want to say 3 weeks ago, my grandson's murderer was found guilty on all 5 charges. And the work that was done by the police department, I do want to say I sat through every day of the trial, and your police officers were so efficient. You know, they had everything so much there in regards to what took place as far as the patrol officers, you know, finding this car, you know, the body cams, you know, everything was just so much on the mark. And even when the jurors called and asked for them, 1 or 2 to come back in there, the detectives and whoever else to come back because they wanted to hear something from them again. They came back here and they did their job. You know, so I want to say something has to be going right in the police department. You know, in every entity, there's always something that's wrong. But I do want to say that everybody that came in there was so much.
Thank you. And I just want to say thank you, and we brought crime down, all of us. Police department, the community, we all are part of the community.
Okay. All right.
That's it. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you. So, somewhere in here, and in this book, I'm assuming that there are employees who fall under the MOU, right?
I'm not sure what MOU is.
Memorandum of Understanding.
Memorandum of Understanding. See, I didn't know what CJS was. You know, MOU. So anyway, and Ken, you might be able to answer this. How many employees? We don't need their names because we know that we can't, no names. But we do have employees who, in certain positions, how can we get the information on how many employees, how many positions, and the length of time that they fall under this MOU?
So you mean kind of by union? In other words, a particular union or?
No, any employee from, it could be the police today, next week might be health, right? So there are employees that do extra and they get paid, right? Yes. Yeah. So how many employees are there that fall under this category? And how long have they been doing this, getting paid extra?
I have to check with civil service. I don't see any of those extra duty things, but I could probably ask Eric to furnish us a total.
Through
I
the
don't know how
chair,
many.
would you kindly please request that this information is provided?
I'll give it to you on Friday.
So in the police department, we don't have any.
I know you don't do that. We're well aware of that, Chief. Okay. You all set, Mary?
Thank you.
Okay. Maria Pereira.
Okay, so I have to get clarification on page 17 to ask my questions about the police department. And this is the pie chart, which I just handed you a note about. So when we look at the percentages, they're really skewed because under education, you claim that the city gives the Board of Ed 200 and, you know, the proposal 250 million, but that's not true because you're taking the state pass-through ECS money. So really, Bridgeport is only contributing $86,446,000 to the Board of Ed. That's the proposal. Does that sound right?
Yeah,
From the municipality.
This is the expenditure.
I know, but it's with the municipal page, okay? And you shouldn't be putting ECS in there like you guys are giving the money. But why is that important? Because when I take out that 164 million that comes from the state for education, it changes all the percentages. And it appears to me that there is no department that receives more funding on a percentage of the entire municipal budget than the police department. And that is about 25%. Would you say that that's fairly accurate? At well over 100 million a year.
It's the largest city side.
Right. Okay, and so what happens is,
That's the first question, actually, second.
no, I'm clarifying the pie chart, okay? I can go wait for a second round, but I want to get this clarified because it goes to my police question. So education is only 19%. The police department is the biggest percentage of our budget. And so, and why is that important? Because public facilities only 15%. Libraries is 2.68. So it shifts all the percentages when you look at the pie chart, when you take out the ECS. So is that fairly correct? That the police department, because it's also the only department, again, that's not totaled in this book, and that's done purposely. Every year I've complained that. The police department is not totaled. What's the total budget for police? Because it's not totaled. All combined is not totaled.
I believe there is a page.
Really? What page? What page is that?
You know, just, I'm not trying to, you know, the meeting's going along. You know, the pie charts are just based on the way governments report accounting. It's not anything I created.
Okay.
You can get back to her on that one.
Can you just tell me what's the total number the police department is getting, including pension? Because it's a big number.
Yeah, you can get you that number, Maria.
Well, everybody should want it in the, to correct the pie chart. And then I'll wait to ask my two questions about the police department. Okay, because I need to get the pie chart right. I've always complained about the police department not being totally total.
Right, so it is true that the division totals are not summed in total, but pages 186 to 188 have the totals.
Right, but where's the total of all the pages?
Okay, so if I add it up, I can just do it in my head quickly. It's about, it's about $82 million in the police department, roughly. Might be about 90.
Okay, 90. I had 117, so you're saying, okay, I'll wait for it.
Actually,
Now.
this is the division, so you're actually closer than I am.
Okay.
Thank you.
What
I'm
is
just
it?
trying to do it quickly. It is closer, probably about 110, 115.
Okay, so it's close, all right, okay. All right, and then I'll wait for my two questions now that we have the police.
Mary Lee?
Yeah, I said yesterday, and I said today too, I don't think that there's no department in Bridgeport that includes education is more important than the police department and the fire department. You know what I say? Cause when that bomb threat was at Watersfield, I didn't call my student, I ain't called the superintendent either. You know what I mean? I wanted to see the police officer, them dogs, and the fire department. That's what I wanted to see. And God, of course. You know. So that the thing about it is that, and I'm gonna go off just 1 minute, okay? The thing about it is that I know we don't. Some feel like we don't give the education department as what they should. But let me tell you something. The classroom don't see none of that money. And if you go any place else in the state of Connecticut, every town get more money than teachers. If I go to Fairfield or Danbury or whatever the case might be, I get $6,000 to $7,000 to $8,000 more than I do in Bridgeport. And if we get a teacher, they don't have no teachers, because these young teachers, they ain't gonna do that. I heard somebody talking about how little $6,000 to $7,000 is a year and how them people live off. Our teachers don't get that, but I don't hear nobody complaining about that. So that's all I got to say. I ain't gonna say nothing else. I'm gonna go eat some.
Am I down for my second round?
Kayla?
I have a question about page 192 and 195. Shifts 2 and 3. I see them twice, is there a reason why they're there twice? Page 192 and 195.
So maybe by division, I have to double check with the,
It just says
The
other
brass over
person,
here.
it says other personnel or personnel services. It says the same thing.
right, so they're different divisions.
Okay.
So it's by those officers in each division, and their shift differential is annual.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, Hakeem.
Thank you, Chair. Chief or Assistant Chief? Is 20 terabytes enough for cloud storage?
It's not perfect, but it's the cheapest way to go right now. And it'll get us into where we need to be just to start it off. We can always increase that as we go.
In increments of 20 or?
I think they do increments of 10 if I remember correctly. So, but that's a shared thing, and that's basically while the case is in trial, you can send the data over, then you can wipe it out and then put more data on. So it's not gonna just always be there sitting, yeah.
Right now you have enough space?
We don't have any space right now, so that's the problem, yeah. So we're kind of stuck with, we were trying to do the storage drive approach, and I've been working with Director Denton on all of this stuff. And this is what he recommends too. He recommends us follow this cloud approach. He says it's the best, most secure way, policy, just compliance. And him and I share the responsibility of liaisons for the city and the police department when it comes to handling the security of our data. We don't have any data leaks as a responsibility of us, you know, so.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
No problem, yes.
Anita.
Okay, thank you. So I am on page 190. Second section, 01259000, constituent services.
190.
190. Constituent services, what does that relate to?
Under chief of police.
Oh, it's a position.
Yeah. That's a position.
It's a position.
Oh,
That's a position.
so what does
It's
the
a person.
position entail?
That is,
It says constituent
Yeah.
services, so what services are provided to the constituents?
that's a person who works in community services.
Oh, okay. All right, and then my second question is, I see school crossing guards, FY '26, budget at $1 million. We have crossing guards? 'Cause
Yeah.
I don't see any.
We just hired a few more.
Where are they
Probably
located?
short. They're spread out through the city in the different school zones.
Two at Waltersville.
So what total numbers do we have and what's their salary? Because it just says $1 million, but it doesn't break down the numbers of how many, the hourly and the salary.
I'll try to get the answer right.
Yeah.
Can you get that answer back to us?
Yeah. And so, you know, they work just a couple hours a day, and they follow the police budget. So there's a civilian who supervises them, and they report to us, but we aren't directly with them every day. But yeah.
I'm only asking because the school crossing guard is on possibly 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon. $1 million is a lot.
Take the number back.
Yeah, it's probably close to 100 plus.
$18 an hour. Yeah.
Just give us the number and then.
Yeah, it's probably close to 100.
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, Maria?
Which Maria, me?
Pereira.
Okay, so I have to tell you, this whole, the way this is with each position, negative, positive, without that missing, it's very hard to understand this. It's really difficult. I've never had such a challenge. Am I correct that in total you want to add 26 net positions?
For police officers.
In total, how many positions netting are
For
you
this
trying to
current
add?
fiscal year.
Yes.
Yes.
We're talking about this year, right?
Yes.
How
No, I
many
talked
total
about
positions, how many officer net increase positions, whether captain, lieutenant, whatever, and then you have positions that are administrative? What's the total net? When you take away a secretary and add a typist, what's the total net?
Sworn position or non-sworn?
Sworn and non-sworn.
So sworn is, right now, we are at 321.
And you wanna add,
Yes.
how many?
We like to add, what do we put in here?
22
Yeah,
or 26?
26.
You're trying to add 26 positions this year.
Because those are vacancies that are current. Yeah.
No,
Over 4 years, we want to do more, but currently, we have some vacancies that are already.
no, I don't
budgeted.
wanna care, I don't care about something that's ready, no, but there's confusion. I'm not asking what's vacant.
Mhm,
I'm asking, we have a budget right now.
mhm.
How many sworn officers additional are you proposing in 27, and how many civilians are you trying to add net? Whether they're filled or not filled is irrelevant, just positions. Because it's very hard to figure this out.
Through the chair, if I may.
Yeah.
So we added one certified position in the budget, lieutenant. I think council member is asking if you had your druthers. for this.
No, I'm asking legitimately, how many new certified positions have been added starting July 1st on top of what's budgeted right now, and how many civilian positions are being added?
Just the one.
In the proposed budget, so far, one certified position added and two non-uniform positions.
Okay, because this is so confusing, okay? And then the second question I want to ask is, you just said that, you want to get back over to 400 positions and so forth and so on, but we're going around telling everybody serious crime is significantly down. And we did a whole study, a police study, that said you don't need 400 positions. So if we pay for the consultant to do that, the whole police staffing study, and crime is down, because that's what we're telling everybody, what's the basis for adding 20, whether today or over time, what's the basis for that?
So we think the city's going to grow. We see future growth in the city, and we want to continue to grow the police department to meet the growth of the city. So, and so we're always cautious about when we tout crime is down, because we know the question is like, all right, well, crime is down, then why do you need more police officers? Because there's a lot of more proactive things that we want to do. So in Bridgeport, the last couple of years, thankfully, a lot of and I know these are some of the issues that you in your district that we address, are quality of life issues.
Oh, very
so
good.
we wanted to not just be able to address the Part 1 crimes. Every time I talk to you guys about crime, I'm talking about Part 1 crimes, serious crimes. I want to address the quality of life issues. So residents of Bridgeport could have the same quality of life as individuals of Fairfield. So we could deal with the noise complaints, so we could deal with the dirt bikes, so we could deal with the tractor trailers, so we could deal with the illegal parking. So we want to now be able to focus on those quality of life crimes, but I can't take my foot off the pedal and forget about the Part 1 crimes. So as we grow, we want to be able to do that. I think the number one preventative crime is police presence, right? So we can grow our police presence and have more officers out and about walking. We can increase our traffic division. So we can we can reduce the number of motor vehicle accidents and the number of motor vehicle fatalities. So we want to really focus on those quality of life crimes. So I think those additional numbers will allow us to do some of those other types of policing that I think that 99.9% of us are really effective with.
All right, okay. That'll be Anita, Ernie, then I'll pick up myself.
All right, so let me finish all this, since I'm rounding off.
Yeah.
All right, so, Chief or Assistant Chief Capozzi, I have questions on the special detail parades and parks. I don't see under fiscal year 25-26 where you allocated, Black Rock Parade, Barnum Festival, 911 ride.
Yeah, that's all in there.
No, FY 25-26.
Oh, it didn't happen yet?
Yeah.
I understand that, but neither did the Puerto Rican Day Parade for
No, I had
2026.
I had 2 years worth of data for Puerto Rican Day Parade. The first year was 60, and the second year was 43. But this came from, this is, because when I did it by fiscal year, I did get a little confused myself. You are accurate, but this is 2 years of data that I have for that. It probably should be, you're right, now that I think about it, so that might have been an error on my part, yes.
So perhaps you should have estimated a number for Black Rock Barnum Festival and 911
No,
ride?
this was the actual number.
No, I'm talking about the gap down the bottom. See, go to Black Rock Parade, you didn't put no numbers in.
Yeah, you got 1 year.
No, the next year, you didn't estimate no numbers.
No, it was not, see, this is all actual, this is our estimate, this is actually what was paid. This is coming out of the Munis system, so I'm not estimating anything.
Okay, so, but for, you see you have 25, 26.
Yes.
So, what I'm saying to you is I use the PR parade as an example. That didn't happen for 26 yet, so.
No, that was an error,
Okay,
on
all
my
right,
part.
I got you, all right, so that takes care of that, all right, so you're covered with that. So now, let me go to, revenue.
Can I
So-
just add one comment though?
Sure.
With, Milta, she worked with us to bring it down, because she knows that we were short and we haven't developed a very good relationship.
Okay,
But listen, we're hurting a little bit. She didn't bring in bigger acts that would attract more people, so.
Well, the reason I'm only bringing it up is because if we see the total numbers, we'll know what to work with what additional you need to fulfill the needs of what staff you need for your parade. That's why I'm bringing it up.
If we can keep it in that range, it'd be great.
Then we'll be good.
All right, so revenue chief, and I'm not holding you accountable to it because this has gone around a full circus. We have issues here where we don't have the nightlife application fees revenue here, so it's taking a big hit on your budget because that has.
So, we revamped that,
Yes,
and
yes,
so
yes.
we're doing some pushes, like, I think we just advertised now, we're gonna be doing some
Yes,
compliance
I saw
checks, so
that. Yes,
hopefully we get
yes.
those people to start
So,
coming into compliance.
You didn't list this on any of your line items because you didn't anticipate any revenue this year, is that why?
For
The
the
nightlife
nightlights.
application?
No.
Okay, all right, just wanted clarification on that. Okay, I saw the increase on the overtime, Assistant Chief Capozzi. I think that, as a co-chair of ordinance, I think that I'm gonna review the contract of the companies that have, construction companies that have to pay for policing overtime, because I think it's time for their fees to go up to kind of balance the overtime, because I do know, correct me if I'm wrong, that if an officer does the overtime standing for 4 hours, they have to get paid for 8.
Well, no, it's a minimum of 4 hours, but the fees are based on the officer wage increases. So in our
The
next
union
contract,
The union fought that.
yeah,
So how do we help you balance that to cover, so you don't have a larger amount covering overtime where we can kind of increase a little more
so
on what the
contractors
construction
pay,
company?
they pay
Yes,
their overtime.
yes.
They pay for that. So where we really get hit at is these events that we don't get reimbursed for.
Special detail.
Yeah, the special details. So with the contractors, they pay.
I know that they pay, but I wanna go up on their pay.
You can't.
You can't.
It was part of the union negotiation, they fought it.
For construction companies?
Yeah, so let me explain, their philosophy was, if you increase the rate for the contractor, they would put
They would
less
put
of them
less,
on higher. So they fought it as part of the union agreement.
All right, I wasn't aware of that, thank you for
Yeah,
educating me on that.
And, yeah.
Okay.
Which is ridiculous.
Wait, I'm
No,
almost
I'm
finished.
just saying that, okay,
I'm
so we
almost
can get back to this
Yeah,
question.
so I'm glad that the camera issue was brought up, because I had that on my notes. Your cameras are extremely outdated. And are you looking to get a grant writer in your police department, or do you have a grant writer that is helping with grants outside of East
Yeah,
Salinas?
so no, we don't have a grant writer. We'd love to have our own grant writer. It's something that we've tried to, at one point, we had in our budget to hire a fiscal person that was gonna do that. We weren't able to do that. So I do think a department our
Said at one
size.
point, so are you saying that it was removed from your budget?
No,
Okay.
what we'd like to do, a department our size, that is dependent on grants, right? We're a city that's heavily dependent on grants. It would be feasible, it would be a good idea for us to have a dedicated grant writer. However, we do work very well now with East Salina in the grants office. So we do have officers, and Chief Capozzi is part of this, and Lieutenant Jacobells. We provide the information. We'll research grants and we'll go to them and say, and we'll provide the basis of the application to apply for the grants. But yeah, I mean, I think her office probably needs more grant
So with
writers,
the
too.
outdated cameras that you all have, both out in the community and your officers, those cameras are extremely outdated.
You mean our body cameras?
Your body cameras are outdated. There's 2 additional levels now of body cams.
Yeah, there's some body cameras that I like to, that are out now that will translate, so we'd like to.
So can we propose, how can we work this out to
I'll have to
upgrade?
look at a few of the budget lines.
Okay,
that
all right,
maybe
so,
get us
okay.
on them.
We'll talk
It's up
about
to the
that.
committee, and you guys want to.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Martinez,
Yeah.
that would be through a grant though, because I've been working hand in hand with Selena. I'm in the process of learning. She actually works with some of the bigger grants in Melanie. So it is a learning process, but we do have a good relationship with Selena and her crew.
So can you work on that? 'Cause I
Yeah,
think-
no, we will, because there's a big grant that we, I wish I had known this. We could have put that in for one of the requests.
All right, I'm gonna wrap up with this additionally. I noticed that when we were going over the presentation, we went from the Fusion Center to real-time crime.
It's the same
center.
thing.
Okay, all right, so there's no name
It's the same
change.
thing.
Okay.
I'd like to, they're real-time crime centers. We just added that fusion center.
Okay, no problem.
Ultimately, what it is a real-time.
All right. Lastly, I wanna state that I think you need to find more money, Ken, not the chief. You need to find more money for our TNT task force. I think they're doing a hell of a job out in the community with making the many arrests that they are making, the actions that they take rapidly. I mean, you can't miss it. It's like we have so many people out in the community recording that everything pops up on social media. Just recently, they made an arrest in the Hollow. It was all over social media, Stratford Avenue. I mean,
So we are trying to increase, and we have increased our narcotics division, and as we get new officers, I will be able to put more officers. I'm gonna add more detectives. But what's really driving the success of our narcotics advice unit and our task force is narcotics advice has an awesome Lieutenant Duarte, and our task force has an awesome Lieutenant Trevor Stinsky, and they are doing some phenomenal work with our federal partners and state partners. And so we do wanna grow those. I think on one of our slides, we talked about adding people to TNT, adding people to our task forces, so yeah, we.
all right, so you have that item budgeted in the budget already?
So it's just about adding more officers.
Okay.
As we get more officers and more detectives, we can put more people.
So do they have the equipment that they need to fulfill these raids and?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. All right, that's it, thank you.
Well, we're looking for some space to do some storage cars, but that's another capital item.
Yeah,
thank you.
All right, Ray, I'm gonna give you one question.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to say, and I really want to express real concern about the amount taxpayers pay for Bridgeport PD settlements and judgments. We have a huge one coming up now. And this has been my 7th year here. We are going to be over close to 10 million at this point in settlements, Halloween parties, whatever we're doing. I mean, it's got to stop.
Okay.
I agree.
I mean, and our taxpayers are the people who are burdened with that.
I agree.
And, you know, we've got to do better, and police officers have to be held accountable.
So if I, just give me, I really want to, I think that's a good point, I agree with you 100%. So what we talked about is as we add more supervision, as we train our supervisors better, I think that should impact some of those issues, and we are holding our police officers accountable, we are trying to discipline them.
Got it.
So.
All right, okay. Ernie.
Chief, thank you for coming. I want to thank the council people. I know we got a lot of work to do.
Yes, you do.
Saturday, we're going to discuss the capital plan. I hope you all come, because on Monday we got to vote on the capital plan. So I hope to see you all. You can ask me that question after I let everybody go home, because I think everybody's ready to go home.
Yes, I am.
So I move for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Please take that food home, or we'll take it to patrol, like,
They have to come down to the capital
go to
plan.
waste.
How are we voting on the capital plan on
Yeah.
Saturday if they're not